Oh, yes, sir. And yes, ma'am. You had better. Hey, let's get them up. Get them going. It's Friday on B&E. That is right, the end of the long and humid, then wet, then thunderstorm work week. Hope you survived last night. Straight line winds, some hail, potential tornadoes in the area, all through Texas yesterday, coming across, and cool temperatures, down temperatures in the 50s right now. Be a beautiful weekend, though. We said once the storms of Thursday advance out, it's going to be a beautiful weekend, and that will begin today. It's 51 degrees, clear skies, and here we go. We have a lot to do. 4 hours of tremendous conversation into your weekend begins right now here on the Show of the People. A lot to dive into. On-field drills beginning at the NFL Scouting Combine. Of course, we'll have the guys who showed out, including a couple of Longhorns there. Also, a busy weekend of Longhorn athletics with baseball and basketball taking center stage. Also got college hoops tournaments up and running. The madness of March is here. Also, a pretty big piece of news from the Longhorn football program. Gary Patterson has made a decision. We'll get you details there. Looks like Gary's going to move back and be with his family a little bit. We'll dive into that conversation as well. It's a busy Friday, 3 March, and we appreciate you being there. Wherever you find us, maybe it's 104.9 on the FM dial, could be 101.9 FM, AM 1260, always there for you. And you know you can always do it digitally. Download that Horn app and take us wherever you go on your smartphone. Make sure you tell your smart speaker, hey, turn on 104.9 The Horn. And we're always streaming for you live on our website at hornfm.com. Mr. Godbolt.
Good morning to the soldiers at Fort Hood, Texas, the soldiers in the state of Texas, and all those that fight for us each and every day. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your service to all of us. We do appreciate it. We appreciate it each and every day. Yeah, quite windy last night.
Yeah, how'd you fare?
I think it was probably around 7 o'clock or so that it kind of came in.
That's about right.
Yeah, and boy,
we got it about 8.
And I tried to get the. I went out
7:45 or so.
Myself and my wife went outside in it, and that in fact, that rain was cold. That was a cold rain.
Yeah.
Man, with the wind blowing, trying to get the big dog in from his house. His house was not pointed in the right direction, so getting him into the garage for the night was awful lot of fun, just getting soaking wet. To a warm shower. I mean, it was cold, that rain.
It was a long line of storms that, spanned the entirety of Texas from south to north, and Metroplex was dealing with it.
Yeah, the winds didn't last very long out there, though.
Well, it came through pretty quickly, and that's what was bringing those straight line winds, and saw some temperature, some wind gusts of upwards of 70, 75 miles an hour, which Ty Henderson, our producer, who was at a rock concert last night, taking in one of his favorite bands, looks like you maybe lost a tree in your backyard.
Yeah, the biggest tree in my backyard fell straight on my roof from literally cut off from the ground. It was crazy.
Jeez Louise, and destabilized
from the inside, huh?
Maybe destabilized a little bit from the ice storm. I don't know.
Yeah, something like that. My roommate just happened to be taking a video right as it hit the roof, and it sounded like a giant boulder, going through the top of the roof. But we'll have to see today what kind of damage.
Now
really
you rent, fortunately.
Yes, but I've talked about some of my past issues with the landlord on the show, so we'll see how.
Yeah, that could be up there. You're hoping that's not up there during the football season.
Scumlord might have to come through for you. But how was the concert? Who'd you go see last night in the live music capital of the world?
I went to go see Boy Named Banjo. It's a country group from Nashville. They've been
cool.
They've been one of my favorite bands for the past 5 years. So the second time seeing them, first time they've ever been to Austin. So I'm glad I got out there. It was a little late, but worth it for sure.
All right, I'm gonna ask the dumb question. Boy Named Banjo. They feature a banjo in the band?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, I like that. That's kind of cool. You a fan of the banjo, Buck?
I am.
Yeah, that's kind of a cool instrument. Hard to play.
Certainly is.
Hard to play. Even folks who play the guitar sometimes have a hard time learning the banjo. But that's pretty cool. And we always bring you the live music update. And so if you're getting out and taking that in, the rodeo gets going this weekend with the barbecue cook-off. We know there'll be music all over the place there with bands in the tents and all that goes on.
Yeah, and beautiful weekend for music everywhere.
It's going to be. And how about tonight? 2 shows. We were talking about him just the other day at ACL Live at the Moody Theater. Buddy Guy in town. The legendary 86-year-old Buddy Guy for a couple nights. I don't think he lives here, but every time you get a chance to see Buddy Guy,
oh my goodness,
you got to know it might be the last one, right? I mean, it might be the final tour. Not that we're wishing ill, but at some point he stops traveling and doing shows like that. But yeah, get out and see some live music. Get out and see some sports this weekend. But a lot to do. Let's get you the headlines, trending topics to start your Friday morning. Get this show cranked up. UO Business Services brings it to you. Start with the Texas football news. And according to a report at Horns 24/7 Sports late yesterday, It's like Texas Special Assistant Gary Patterson is going to step away from his role as that special assistant in order to spend more time in Fort Worth with his family and possibly to help college football in a bigger way. After 21 seasons as head coach at TCU, the 63-year-old joined Steve Sarkisian's staff last year for the 2022 season as the special assistant. He says, and according to the report, though, says right now I feel like I need to take some time for my wife, kids, and grandkids while also looking to see if I can help college football on a larger scale. Elsewhere in football, on-field drills for potential draftees began yesterday in Indianapolis at the Combine. Defensive linemen and linebackers, that included 3 former Longhorns, defensive lineman Moro Ojomo, Keandre Coburn, and linebacker DeMarvion Overshown were competing on field yesterday at Lucas Oil Stadium. Ojomo showed off his long arms and excellent agility, weighed in at 296. Coburn was 6'2" and 232. And then it was Overshown who may have helped himself the most. He posted 4.56 in the 40-yard dash, a 10.4 broad jump, and measured in at 6'3" and nearly 230 pounds. Former Longhorn running back Bijan Robinson and Roschon Johnson will both compete in the running back prospects on Sunday. Back on the 40 acres, another busy weekend on tap for Texas athletics. Texas baseball opening that 3-game weekend series at Cal State Fullerton tonight in Southern California. Keith Moreland and Ty Harrington on the call. Game 1 tonight at 8 o'clock, tomorrow night at 7, and then Sunday afternoon at 2. Longhorns need to post some wins here. They opened to that series at 3-5. Titans are 2-4. Softball, Texas will host the Texas Invitational. That begins this morning, runs all weekend at McCombs Field. Of course, Texas hoops, Texas men and women both in action. 9th-ranked Texas men looking to snap that 2-game losing skid now. They host 3rd-ranked Kansas tomorrow afternoon at the Moody Center. It's Senior Day. It should be a great crowd. Game tips at 3, 2:30 pregame right here on the Horn. Texas women look to clinch at least a share of the regular season Big 12 championship. They'll face Kansas State tomorrow afternoon, 4 o'clock in Manhattan. And college hoops last night, big win for the Texas State Bobcats at the Sun Belt tournament, the conference tournament. 11th-seeded Bobcats whipped 6th-seeded Old Dominion. They're going to now move on to play 3rd-seeded Marshall on Saturday. College hoops last night at the top. How about number 1 Houston? Easy win. Also 4th-ranked UCLA with a win. 5th-ranked Purdue survived at Wisconsin 63-61. NBA, Kyrie Irving, Luka Doncic combined for 82 in a win over Philadelphia up in Dallas and have break up the Spurs. They've won 2 in a row now after that 16-game losing skid. They topped Indiana 110-99 last night. Former Baylor Bear Jeremy Sohan led the way with 22 and 13. Hey, this says it's the curse of the rooster, Ty. Curse of the cock-a-doodle-doo-dang rooster you're dealing with.
Yeah, and I heard that rooster this morning. It
Dude,
wasn't affected by the wind.
I do have
It
to
wasn't
say,
affected by the tree falling on your roof.
Bucky, you and I, over time, have had a lot of producers, a lot of good producers, a lot of bad producers. Mostly good, though. Mostly good. And Ty is in the good category without a doubt. But
So far.
he might be one of our most unlucky producers. Guy's got surgery on his nostrils. Guy's got cars, tree branches falling on his car. Trees falling on his house.
He's still around to tell the story, though.
Got no heat.
I've also been known to be extremely lucky, too.
Well, there you go.
There you go.
So it comes
goes
in waves.
both ways. Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
polar. You don't spend a lot of time in the middle. You're either dealing with something rough or good. I like it. Yeah, and you've also hit some big parlays and
There you go.
had good nights on
Bingo.
the gambling circuit. Bingo. And I was really disappointed for you, Buck, when I saw that headline this week of Dripping Springs resident wins the lottery. I was like, oh, finally for the buck.
No, that was right in the drip. Mine's are on just the outskirts, part Austin, part Dripping, where I get my tickets. And no, that was not me. Oh, you'll know when I hit it. Believe me.
You'll know. Well, we just won't hear from you. See ya. Wouldn't want to
Oh,
be
no, I'll come around.
Adios, amigos.
Oh, no. I wouldn't be like that.
I know you wouldn't.
But I love when people say, I won't change. Oh, yeah. Get some of that. You'll see.
If I won the lottery at a high number, I'd have to change my underwear. That would be the problem. It would be so good. But let's make that happen at some point because I know that's one of your goals. We've also got this goal. It says, come on, San Antonio. Spurs, who's running the show over there? Lovey Smith, what's going on?
Come on, Lovey.
We're trying to tank, don't you know? Spurs, you can't have winning streaks. Yeah, the Spurs and Rockets are on the race to the bottom.
That needs to be their one and only 2 in a row, right?
Yeah.
They need to stop that.
I know every time I see that, I'm like, sweet. Because, in Houston, we compete for top picks. That's what we do. Well, baseball team in Houston's not bad. A couple World Series here. But the other sports kind of compete for the cellar because we want those high draft picks. And this is a year where it does feel like there's, according to the basketball knowledgeable, there is a franchise-altering pick at the top of the draft.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And the big 7'5" kid from France, Wembanyama, We'll all learn his name. So that's where the race for the bottom is right now. It's the race for the number one pick and to be the number one pick at the NFL side of things in April's draft. The combine is up and running. We'll get to the guys who really showed out yesterday and maybe helped themselves. Also, you've got plenty of Longhorn action there. But Gary Patterson, Buck, not a huge surprise. Our good friend Chip Brown, Horns 24/7, had the report, talked to Gary, and looks like with spring practice firing up for the Longhorns next week that he's going to step aside and has done his time at Texas, whether not that it sounds like a punishment, but that he's ready to get back and be around his family a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, he's 63 years old. It's that, starting at that time. He's talking about the word grandkids, so it's not just his kids. And his wife's still up in the Fort Worth area. It's time for him to go home.
I was intrigued by the comment that he made that maybe help college football on a grander scale. College football, it's never generated more revenue, but at the same time there are issues with the NIL and portal and coaches and players. I don't know what that role would be if you're Gary Patterson, but I don't know if that means going back to head coaching or if that means doing something in a bigger capacity. But
I think he's done with coaching.
I think so.
Yeah, I think he wants administrator, whether it's working with the NCAA about some of the things they need to change, and as you say, portal and when guys can leave NIL deals, is there going to be a ceiling? Will he be a part of talking about that kind of stuff? But it's I think he can help in a lot of ways. He's been around.
Well,
there's a guy who's seen it all now.
Yeah, he's helped take a small program and make it a big-time program and grow it and seen the growth of a conference, and been in smaller conferences into bigger conferences, and now, of course, TCU and, at Texas, he's seen it at the, the biggest athletic department, at least by revenue in the country. He did say and told Chip over at Horns 24/7, quote, "I'm so appreciative of Steve Sarkisian, the players, and the fans for my time at Texas this past year. I loved my time in Austin. I jumped into that role right after leaving TCU, and I put a lot of stuff foundation-wise, because I wanted to be a sponge. I wanted to see how the coaches on the staff there and at places like Alabama and Washington recruit, how they handle practice, how they handle things like NIL. I learned so much and have so much respect for guys like Pete Kwiatkowski, Jeff Choate, and Bo Davis. Really enjoyed the players. Who knows? Maybe I'll get to August and want to come back if Sark will have me. But right now I feel like I need to take some time for my wife, my kids, and grandkids. I'm also looking to see if I can help college football on a larger scale."
Yeah, Kelsey says it's time to come home.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, we'll see. That quote there makes me feel like maybe he will coach again. I know you just said you don't think he will, but be a sponge and see how other people do it. Sometimes we know Mac Brown. When he was out here in Texas at 2013, he did TV for 4 or 5 years and jumped back in at North Carolina and said he's learned so much about how he was doing it, how others do it. Because you know how that goes when you're coaching, Buck. You do it y'all's way, and you got your head down. You're going to work every day.
Yeah, you don't see many other things in many other ways. You see some small changes that you may make, but, he's now noticed big changes in the sport itself and also in the way the sport is handled, college football. So, yeah.
So we'll see. 63, a lot older coaches than him right now, still getting it done in college football. So we'll follow, and I'm sure Steve Sarkisian has talked about, Gary Patterson, just what a great fit he was, and came in with no ego and just was one of the coaches and loved getting back and connecting with the players more than anything else, and helping them run those early workouts and just being a special assistant, another set of eyeballs, a very experienced set of eyeballs for Sark and the staff.
You missed that communications and that closeness with the players.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk about that at TCU, what went sour in Fort Worth after 2 decades, and I know our friend Colonel Craig Flowers talked about the connection with the locker room, that you get just so busy, dealing with the boosters and dealing with facility upgrades and NIL and all the stuff that comes with being the CEO.
Dude, you don't even get a chance to walk through the training room before practice and see how guys' days went. You're too busy. Right up to the very, very time as a head coach that you go out on the field. You're sitting on the telephone and talking to people throughout the administration, talking to boosters, and then you don't get a chance to talk to your players until you get on the field and start screaming at them.
Yeah,
and communicating with
and
them.
they don't know you that. Hey, who's that guy? He's screaming at me all of a sudden. This is our coach, and Mac Brown ran into some of that at Texas. That players would talk about. We'd see Coach on Tuesday, and then really wouldn't see him again until Thursday or Friday. But yeah, to be the coach, you got to be immersed in it, and maybe never more than ever than right now, or
even more so. Yes,
yeah, because of the transfer portal, you got to be re-recruiting your current roster all the time.
Yeah, your players
staying engaged.
Yeah, the kids that you coach and the kids that you coach more than anything. They make decisions they don't make them by the week; they make them by the hour. So it's tough to. It's if you don't have that communications with them, that same kid that you talk to about one thing one day, he may have totally changed his mind about the way he feels about a lot of stuff the next day.
Yeah.
So you got to try to be around them as much as you can, and I mean that's where you have to have good people around you. That's why you have to have good assistant coaches.
Well, and you have to be demanding of your assistant coaches to be
Absolutely,
because you can't be in every position meeting. They can be engaged with the players all the time, and they have to be. That was your role as a running backs coach. I mean, you've got to know what's making your running backs tick right now, because you know how it goes. I mean, this is the wild, wild west. I mean, guys are getting reached out to behind the scenes, and hey, are you happy? Are you happy?
Yeah, and there's guys that there's kids that other coaches that even in your position, those kids want to talk to other coaches on your staff. Those guys have to be involved in not only their players but all the players on the team.
Yeah. All right. So Gary Patterson going to step aside. Spring football starts for the Longhorns on Monday. First practice, I'm assuming. Still haven't heard official word yet, but that there'll be some type of pre-spring news conference or press conference for Sark, media availability to preview the goals over the next 6 weeks. It's 15 workouts. The 15th will be the spring game, the Orange-White scrimmage on April 15th. So we'll certainly cover and be all over Texas football. Those two guys, and this is how this goes. The more college football you play, the more they find a nitpick about you, right? The more you're there, the more they get after you.
Quinn Ewers?
Yeah, well, Quinn Ewers would he'd be draft eligible after next year. I mean, there's no doubt because he redshirted and reclassified his class. So, yeah, he would technically be draft eligible after this season for the Texas Longhorns. So that's another name to throw in there. But that's a long way away. But you think about when I say another year to nitpick or another year for something to happen, think about, Jalen Carter at Georgia. Now he is the center of attention with the fatal crash and his involvement in drag racing and whatnot. We told you last year he would have been the number one pick potentially. I mean, he was the best player on that defense, but he wasn't eligible. Well, now he's eligible, and now there's people talking about, well, he's going to slide now because of, the incident here and his judgment, his character, his issue. That's, you just never know how these are going to play out. But now we're focused on this year's April draft, where it's Bryce Young, who apparently is coming off very impressively in his interviews with teams. He's answering questions before they're asked, and he's really people are learning just how sharp he is as a football mind, which, there people have to weigh. Is Bryce Young, does his, slight size get made up for by intelligence and his quick thinking?
Does he have two parents? Because Deion would love it.
Yeah, I think he has two parents.
Yeah, so that's going to be big.
Yeah, that Deion would love it. But there's a lot to like about Bryce Young. The only negative is the weigh-in, which will be coming up because the quarterbacks will do that.
187, 5'9" 3/4.
Can he get to 5'10"? Can he get to?
I think they may just give him 5'10".
5'10", 1. Did you say 187?
187.
I'd say 193.
Ooh.
193. But yeah, the weigh-in's always interesting, and then of course the on-field Olympics, the underwear Olympics got going yesterday, and of course there are the guys who really shine, and Bijan Robinson will have a chance to do it on Sunday with Roschon Johnson. But man, I thought DeMarvion Overshown looked really good. Now he didn't do much after his broad jump, and I don't know if he pulled something or he felt something tighten up, but he ran a nice 40 time. DeMarvion did 4.56 at 230 pounds. I mean, this is, I thought DeMarvion showed what you're going to see on tape and then affirms it on the workouts that he's a long, rangy, kind of a positionless football player, which is what the NFL loves these days. At 230, you could come up in the box and play linebacker like you did, rush the passer, and then, but also still have the agility and the speed to cover people and play coverage on tight ends.
Right. And he's still a guy who can play in the 240s if he had to.
Yeah.
He could
probably
play
add
inside.
5-10 more pounds.
Yeah.
On his frame, broad shoulders. And
yeah, you want to go in that. You don't want to be too heavy going into if you're going to work it out at the combine, for sure.
Well, the thing they love about Overshown is he's also, and he loves contacts. He likes to hit.
He likes to strike, yeah.
He's a striker, and he's not afraid to stick his nose in there. And, the stories were pretty legendary for him coming out of tiny little Arp, Texas, in East Texas, where he was a two-way player just crushing people.
Oh.
Like, dude, you got to settle down. Well, I'm just playing. Well, these are little kids. What are you doing out here?
Sorry about that.
Now he's playing with the big boys in the National Football League, and I don't think he's going to shy away from the contact. The early stars, there always are. Georgia edge rusher Nolan Smith, who, remember, he was hurt this year, but he's healthy now. 6'2", 238, ran a 4.39.
How about that?
Off the edge. 4.39 in the 40-yard dash. I mean, how about this? NFL Research tweeted this about Nolan Smith, who's going to probably shoot up draft boards because you can't coach these things, and you see the production on the field at Georgia off the edge. Everybody's looking for edge rushers. Nolan Smith His 40-yard dash time yesterday was faster than that of Saquon Barkley. His 10-yard split was quicker than that of running back Nick Chubb. His vertical jump higher than DK Metcalf. Broad jump longer than Von Miller. So he looks to be the total package, and he's a good kid. Seems like a great young man. So Nolan Smith out of Georgia, a name to watch on top of Jalen Carter. Safe to say Kirby Smart's recruiting some pretty talented dudes to Georgia.
Yeah. He can go all over the country if he wants, or he can stay in his own backyard in that area and take up everybody he wants. Everybody who wants to play for him.
Yes, he does. Because everybody asks about Stetson Bennett. Why is no one wanting to draft Stetson Bennett? Well, of the 22 starters, he was probably number 22 as far as talent goes, and he ran the ship. But man, that's a really talented football roster that Kirby Smart's running out there. When you get to the National Football League, Buck, you don't have that decided of a talent advantage on a week by week basis. It's very even, and you have to be the difference at the quarterback position. That wasn't the case at Georgia. He had to make some throws.
On bad teams, one guy on that bad team who's a great one can screw up your plans.
Well, I mean, some teams in the country, that's one of the things that really highlights about the draft and the combine is there's some really talented rosters. I mean, you send, Georgia's got 14 or 15 guys going to this combine. They did again last year. But then there's guys like the kid from Northwestern who blew up yesterday, right? He's their edge rusher out of the Big Ten, out of Tomoa Adebawara. I think he's his name. Bauer. I think. Okay, let's go Adebawar. Out of Tomoa Adebawar. Showed out 6'2", 282. 282, ran 4.49.
That's amazing.
4.49 in the 40, 280 pounds. Showed a great split and vertical jump. But at Northwestern, he's the best.
So you have a quarterback trying to run a bootleg off of that guy who's running 4.49.
4.49 at 280.
Yeah.
Well, but he's far and away the best player out of Northwestern. They also have a good tackle, but they have a couple of studs, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Georgia's got all studs.
Yes, I mean, and you just think about Northwestern over the last 5 or 6 years, they put out defensive backs into the NFL.
Northwestern. Pat Fitzgerald's doing a nice job of evaluating and developing, no question. He's putting first-round draft picks.
They just don't have enough of them.
Yeah, they have a couple.
Yes.
And they use those guys and kind of build around them. Georgia's got a dude like that at every position, which is why the Stetson Bennett argument that he should be considered as one of these top quarterbacks. No, it's you don't have that decided talent advantage every Saturday when you get to Sundays. You've got to be the difference at quarterback.
Guys running 4.49s that are
Pittsburgh Panthers. How about this one? Pittsburgh Panthers defensive tackle Kalijah Cansey. He's undersized for his position, but he plays from the same school that Aaron Donald came from, Pittsburgh. Right. And he plays with that same Aaron Donald chip on his shoulder, 6'1", 280. Broke the 40-yard dash record among defensive tackles, 4.67. 4.67 at 280.
Tackle.
Not
an
end. Big butt guy. But, so those are the early returns on the Combine. We're going to hear from one of the biggest names at the Combine so far has been Bijan Robinson. He's on the tongues of everybody talking about him. Cowboys fans, would the Cowboys take him at 26? We'll hear some of the sound of Bijan, who's going to put on his show on Sunday, along with Roschon Johnson and the running backs. Quarterbacks, of course, receivers, and tight ends are tomorrow at the Combine, so that'll be the featured attraction of Saturday in Indianapolis. Craig Way will also have his report coming up. We got your B&E facts of the day. We're just getting warmed up on what's a much cooler morning this Friday morning, the 3rd of March, as the storm has come through. Hope you made it through it, and Haymaker overnight, beautiful Friday on tap here on B&E. Show of the people. We'll come right back. I hope you made it through the storm last night, rolled through, dropped temperatures, and going to create a pretty gorgeous weekend. Comfortable conditions through the weekend, it says. Bright sunshine today and tomorrow and into Sunday, whatever you're up to. Getting out and enjoying barbecue cook-off at the rodeo, that's always a lot of fun. That starts today. Our buddy Dale and the Snake Farm team are out there right under the Ferris wheel on the corner as we talked to him yesterday. They're ready to crank it. Also, Austin FC, Buck, safe to say they need a bounce-back game at Q2 Stadium tomorrow night, hosting Montreal in Game 2 after losing their opener to the expansion St. Louis FC. They need a bounce-back tomorrow night. But the place will be packed, and the Verde and Black will be cranking it up.
Be a nice weekend for that.
Yeah, man, beautiful out there at Q2. Of course, the Longhorn men will play indoor and host the Kansas Jayhawks tomorrow on Senior Day.
I have no clue what to expect out of that.
I'm with you on that. Texas needs to win it. We know it. They've lost back-to-back games. They've only lost one home game all year.
They need a little momentum for sure.
Some momentum and just a good taste in your mouth. It's been a rough week for Longhorn fans, man. You came in on Monday off the loss to Baylor for Texas, and then remember the women had a chance to clinch a share of the championship on Monday night and lost to Baylor again on the women's side. And the baseball team gave up that ninth-inning 3-run homer to lose a great game to LSU. And then, of course, Texas men lose their second straight road game at TCU Wednesday night. They need some good news out of the burnt orange side of things, and Longhorns could provide it. And I think maybe the more curious thing is how Bill Self approaches the game. I mean, conventional wisdom is they'll just come to play and come to win. Same time, they've won the championship. It's been a long season. It's been a meat grinder of a Big 12, and wouldn't be crazy to see Jalen Wilson, maybe instead of not playing 35 minutes, play 20 minutes.
Sure, I expect to see him have a lot of substitutions. This is a long couple tournaments to go for him. Get some guys some time to, they may not have seen a lot of it during the regular season, but they may be that 9th, 10th guy that have to come in.
Well, and
give somebody a rest.
Bill Self's such a good coach, but he understands, too, there's the human nature aspect of it, that his team knows they've clinched the championship. Will they come in with the mental focus and intensity that Texas is going to have on their home floor?
He doesn't want them to look sloppy.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting. 3 o'clock tomorrow over there at the Mood. Final regular season home game for the Longhorns. Texas women, of course, have a chance to clinch at least a share of the women's championship tomorrow at Manhattan. They got to do it on the road in a tough spot there against Kansas State. So it's a busy weekend, a lot going on, but the weather going to be phenomenal, which is a good thing after the storms that move through. But talking plenty of combine. So, Buck, it's amazing you get to the combine, and there are always top stories. We got, how about Mike McCarthy, the Cowboys head coach, and Ty Henderson's head coach. Man, Ty loves him, man. He is all in with Big Mac calling the plays. How about this? Maybe did you hear what Mike McCarthy said at the combine this week, Ty?
I'm hungry.
I did not.
Oh, you lit I'm hungry. Damn. But Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy, when asked about any of the frustrations he may have had with the previous offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore, he said, he said a lot of complimentary things about Kellen, but then he said, quote, "Run the damn ball so I can rest my defense." Said, I want him to run the damn ball more. Isn't he the head coach?
Yeah, but Kellen was in charge of the offense. He was just running the show.
Well, that's going to be music to the ears of a lot of Cowboy fans. Run the damn ball so I can rest my defense was Mike McCarthy's thoughts. But, yeah, he's been there. We know we had the sound from Stephen Jones earlier in the week talking Cowboys football. But really, outside of the Jalen Carter story, which has developed obviously as a big one, I still don't think he's going to slide very far down the draft board. A lot of NFL folks, behind the scenes weighing in that, if the story stays where it is, where it's 2 misdemeanor charges, he'll still be the first defensive player taken, either he or Will Anderson. That's not going to impact his draft status too much. And obviously we can talk about character and judgment and all of those things. That's a fair debate, but he's still uber talented, and that's going to win out in the National Football League. But we played the piece of audio earlier. One of the biggest names at the Combine so far has been Bijan Robinson. Like, it just seems like everybody that I see and from across, not just in Austin or Texas, but across the country, talking about Bijan and talking about his highlight reel, and you'll put his highlights out there like Barry Sanders used to have his highlights out there, or Reggie Bush. And so let's hear from some. Look, first, Will Anderson. We played this yesterday, but it bears repeating. The Will Anderson, who's by some people the best defensive player in this draft, was asked in his entire 3-year career at Alabama who was the toughest player he ever went against, the toughest player he ever had to face. And I think we've probably heard his answer, but here is Will Anderson from Alabama.
Bijan Robinson, from the running back from Texas. He was a big back. we had to game tackle him all. We had to get all hats to the ball. He was going to break a few tackles. We had to tackle him the right way, but he was probably the most toughest person I played in college football.
Dang. I mean, you
had to tackle him the right way.
The most toughest. I mean, that. I mean, when you think of Bijan, I think a lot of people think finesse runner, the quick jumps and the moves, but dude, he's 225.
Yeah, the guys know how to finish. He does finish a run now.
Finishes a run, stiff arms, the spin move. You have to plan to tackle him, right? You can't just drop your head and dive in there. He'll be gone.
You're not going to trip him up. You're not going to grab him, put an arm out on his leg.
And if it's not a solid form tackle, he'll run through it. And so that's high praise from a really good fellow player there and prospect. Also on the Pat McAfee show this week, they were talking with Daniel Jeremiah. And listen to this audio. Pat McAfee and Daniel Jeremiah from MoveTheSticks.com and, of course, the NFL Network. He's their lead draft analyst. They also had an interesting conversation about Bijan Robinson.
Bijan Robinson's number 4.
Oh, wow. There's something going on with him right now. What happened? There's a lot of headlines.
Well, everybody's just like, when do you take the running back? He's a freak show. He's an absolute freak show. He's as good as any of those top guys we've seen go up there. And everybody says, the value of the running back. I can make a strong case for one team that I think should take him. They'll never do it because they don't do it. But the Philadelphia Eagles, because they have the Saints pick, they're picking 10. Normally, my philosophy on running backs, I'm not against taking them in the first round, but don't waste their carries. Like, they only have so many carries in their body, right? If you look at it, 4 or 5 years, 6 years of elite carries.
He's had work.
Why are you going to waste those on a bad team? So if you're picking up there in the top 10, you're usually a bad team. You're going to waste this guy's prime. You're not even any good. I like the idea of having a really good team, and then you drop the running back in there, and then all of his carries matter. The Eagles are right there. They're picking 10. Every time this guy touches the ball matters for the next 4 years, right?
How about Pacheco coming out of the 7th round? That's to your point. Go to a great team, and you're a running back that's good. Everything is meaningful, and you can add to it.
Absolutely.
How did he slip to the 7th?
He was height, weight, speed. He was a little bit stiff. I think it was one of those deals.
Right, there's Daniel Jeremiah echoing things we've said on this show that, hey, you don't typically take a running back that high, but in this window with Jalen Hurts, with this current team and that offensive line, I mean, you can make yourself unstoppable offensively. And I think, Pat McAfee's question back about Isaac Pacheco, well, yeah. I mean, but you think about take a talent like Bijan Robinson to that offense.
Oh, my goodness.
And they still have another first-round pick because they have 10 and 30. I think I really agreed with Daniel Jeremiah's point there. It's one we've made that.
Yeah, as good as Pacheco was, put Bijan Robinson with the Kansas City Chiefs.
Strong argument. And,
yes.
And if you still have that other first-round pick so you can take a top 30 player to fill another need on the defensive side, it's not that far of a drop-off to take a player of that caliber on that team. And he's right, though. I mean, what if consider who's a bad team? Atlanta or, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers even at 19. If they take him, I think that's a good way to put it. He's going to, waste carries on a bad team.
He may get you help you get to the playoffs. By the time you're not going anywhere.
That's the Saquon Barkley argument. By the time you're back to being good again, Saquon's in his 5th year now, and he's going to be a free agent. He's taken a lot of wear and tear and injuries, but the Giants have been dreadful as long as he's been there until this year. Another one, how about Scott Pioli? This is interesting. Scott Pioli was the former New England Patriots and Kansas City Chiefs front office general manager. He was a guest on the NFL Network, and they began to talk about Bijan Robinson, and he had a high opinion of old number 5.
And I agree, and I think
Bijan Robinson's number.
Position that is value for quarterbacks is running back. Look at Saquon Barkley, how he helps Daniel Jones. And Bijan Robinson is a big name. And I know running backs, it's not popular like it once was, maybe 10 years ago. But if he goes out there and has an incredible combine, could he flip the script and be the running back that darts up the draft boards?
Devin, I think there's an absolute chance that happens because there are teams that are going to pay attention to the numbers, and they should. Because if you watch Bijan on tape, in terms of a running back, in terms of his hands, in terms of his blitz pickup ability, I watched a ton of tape on this guy. I actually spent time with him down at the University of Texas. This kid is the total package. You want him on your football team. He's a winner in every sense of the word. He's a leader in every sense of the word. So, again, typically, this position has unfortunately been devalued. But again, as we know in the draft and in anything in life, it only takes one person to fall in love with you. And if one team falls in love with him and has the need for a running back, and their situation is good enough where they've got other positions filled, some teams may lead to going to drafting based on need rather than best player available. But the reality is he is going to be one of the best players available. And getting a running back for his first 5 years, if you can get him later in the first round, it might be the right thing to do.
Right there's Scott Pioli, who also is in love with Bijan, and no one's got a negative thing to say about the player, Buck, but the person. But it's just, when do you take them? At what point do you jump on? And that, I think that comment from Scott Pioli at the end would be the Cowboys side of it. That if he's sitting there at 26 and we're still here in the first round and we have a high first round grade on him, and we could use a running back to go with Tony Pollard because we're going to cut Zeke Elliott. I could see that. But I could see it for a lot of teams because he's going to be a good player.
Well, yeah, the only team that it would be the Titans. That's the only team. We don't need a running back. We have one right now.
Well,
everybody else,
you have an older warhorse.
Yeah, but everybody else, that warhorse still rushes for 1,700 a year, 1,500 yards. But this guy right here, everybody else needs a running back.
Well,
when it comes to
Tennessee's at
Bijan.
11. I don't think they would, but you're saying no on him.
No.
Yeah, so there you go. There's Bijan. Just wanted to let you hear some of the sights and sounds from the Combine. He has been the top-of-mind conversation across the country because people are just so enamored with his talents, and obviously fans here got to see it, and fans are still frustrated that maybe they didn't see it enough as a junior at Texas with only 12 carries against TCU, and maybe didn't utilize him enough in some big losses this past year. But that's water under the bridge. It's a time for a new season. Turn the page, Buck. Spring football.
Yeah, now you got to find another one similar if you can.
Well, you know, it's interesting.
Take on some of those carries.
One of our key focuses into next week in spring practice. Well, who replaces Bijan and Roschon? That's obvious. I mean, of all the position battles, that's maybe the most intriguing because you're replacing 75-80% of your running back production from year to year. But they got the guys that have been there: the Jonathan Brooks, the Jaden Blues.
Did you say Jaden Blue? I haven't seen him in.
We haven't seen him, but
time.
He's there. He's
on
there.
campus.
But the name to watch is going to be Cedric Baxter Jr., the number one running back in the country by a lot of services out of the state of Florida. He is already here and on campus, and you know better than anybody, if a running back can play, if he's good enough, he's old enough.
Yeah, for sure.
If he's got that special sauce, if he's good enough, he's old enough. So and
with this line, another year mature.
Yeah, better year with Kelvin Banks anchoring that offensive line. How for you as a former running backs coach, how important is it that he's already here? I mean, he's already enrolled. He's getting his feet wet in school. He's playing school a little bit, Buck, but he's also here for winter workouts.
And he's here for winter workouts. He gets to see what college players look like. He gets the feel for college football. What he gets more than anything is the tempo of the way college football goes compared to high school. The state of Florida has a lot of guys that can run and move and shake and bake, lots of speed, lots of really nice teams. But he gets here, Ian, it's totally different.
Sure, different animal.
Oh, yeah.
And can learn the playbook as well, learn the plan and work with Kyle Flood in the run game. Shard Choice, the running backs coach. All right, we'll come back. We will pick up some B&E facts of the day. I like this scenario for the Cowboys, Buck, and we'll pick it up. How about go ahead and draft a defensive lineman or a corner with pick 1 or even a tight end, and then in the 3rd or 4th round, take Roschon Johnson.
That's right.
I think I love Roschon too, and I think he might be a better complement to what Tony Pollard does as a 1-2 combination, replacing Zeke Elliott. So we'll talk about it with you. NFL never dies here on the Horn. College football certainly doesn't either. We're coming back with your B&E facts of the day. First, it's the voice of the Longhorns. Indeed, B&E on a beautiful Friday morning. Going to be a great weekend. Glad you're with us. Coming up in our next hour, we'll get you the very latest on this Gary Patterson situation. Looks like he is indeed stepping away from the University of Texas football program. Had a conversation with our friend Chip Brown over at Horns 24/7, and looks like it'll be official. So we'll get you more on that coming up. Also, the days of our quarterback lives continue. The Combine, we've compiled some audio from some general managers and coaches about would the Bears trade out of the 1 pick for a team that wants to come up to take a quarterback? Who are those teams likely to be, and who could they be? We'll go talk more about that coming up as well and get some B&E facts of the day. These are facts, Buck. How about you see the story of the terrifying airplane situation, flight situation?
Wednesday, yes.
Where a flight was traveling from Dulles Airport to Germany. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, how about this? The Lufthansa flight 469 dropped nearly 4,000 feet. 7 people had to go to the hospital. Matthew McConaughey and his wife Camilla were on that plane, on the flight from Austin to Germany that had to land at Dulles Airport in Washington Wednesday. They left from Austin, flying to Germany. And
Dude, I said 1,000 feet. 4,000?
I mean, you're 30,000 feet in the air, so on a scale, that's not a lot. But when you're in the plane, that's a lot. Holy cow.
Just a simple bump to me is a lot.
Yeah. I don't think I've been on an air flight, Buck, where it was like really scary. Like,
I have.
I know you have.
In upstate New York, when the plane was getting ready to land, it zipped back up.
Oh.
And the pilot comes on, the captain comes on and said, well, not this time. I mean, the wings are going sideways. The wind had this little plane. And of course, I was with that crazy flight going to see, who was the running back I was going to see, Louisiana?
Work done.
And I said, not tonight.
Not tonight.
Not tonight.
But they had to land the flight, and McConaughey posted a short video with her. McConaughey, his wife Camilla, posted a short video with her Instagram caption that said she would not show anyone else around out of respect for the privacy of the people on the flight, which is a nice thing to do.
Do you realize there's a lot of people that just don't fly as couples?
Ooh, really?
They get nervous about flying if they have kids behind.
Well, like this, just out of fear?
Out of fear, yeah.
Of don't want to both go?
Yes.
Huh, that's interesting. But she says, thank God everyone was safe and okay. I must say everyone, she thanked the people at the airport for being so great to everybody. It sounds like Matthew McConaughey's wife is a very nice lady, because most people would have went and posted that video.
This is when they were serving food when this happened too, by the way. You think the trays are everywhere?
What a nightmare that is. Also on a B&E Facts of a Friday, how about, so Luka Doncic scored 42 last night. Kyrie had 40. Mavericks beat the 76ers. But we know Joel Embiid plays for the 76ers, right? And see, these are the top 2 NBA scorers last night. You've got Luka Doncic averaging 33.2 points per game, and Joel Embiid at 33. It was the first matchup between opposing players, each averaging at least 33 points since 1975.
Joel Embiid is a big guy. He ran into Luka last night and hit the ground. Luka helped pick him up, put his hand up. He is like hitting, I don't know. He is thick. He hit him in the upper body, too, and he went down.
By the way, it's in 1975. Rick Barry faced Bob McAdoo.
Bob McAdoo.
That's the first time 2 leading scorers over 33 points a game hooked up, in a long, long time, almost 50 years. And before that, it was more than 50 years, and it was Jerry West and Wilt Chamberlain.
Wow.
So Mavericks got a nice win. That was historic last night, factually and statistically. And the 2 leading scorers over 33 points a game got together, and Mavericks won that ball game. They almost blew another lead. They had a big lead like they did over the Lakers, and Philly came all the way back, but this time the Mavericks held on for the win. Spurs, what are the Spurs doing winning basketball games? We'll get into that. Also some other really interesting notes as we roll forward. Get you that Gary Patterson story right off the top. It's B&E on the Horn.
In Plano.
Dr. Greg Eckert, folks, in his Eckert Dentistry, 27 years as Austin's dentist. He's the best. And Dr. Eckert, Bucky told me to give you a message. He's on it. He's coming. He's coming. He's just screening your calls. He knows he's got a cavity that he's got to deal with, and he's going to get in there and not be a baby and put it off. But he'll be coming because he's our dentist, and that's what Dr. Eckert's all about. But the thing that Dr. Eckert is really about here in 20 and 23 is the ability to get you a brand new smile in one day. I know a lot of folks will think, man, I need this new smile. I'm not confident in what I'm doing. My teeth are falling apart. And it's a big part of my oral hygiene and everything else. But, man, it's going to take time. I don't have the time to do it. Dr. Eckert and his team can tell you how they can get you permanently secured dental implants and a brand new smile in one day. And you'll spend no time without teeth. I mean, you'll be in, and they'll do the work, and you'll be ready to roll. Really, really is an incredible opportunity, and it's a permanent solution. This isn't a Band-Aid. This is for good and for the long haul with Dr. Greg Eckert. That's how great the technology is now, and the advances they've made in these permanently secured dental implants that are just revolutionary. And all you got to do is call Dr. Eckert to talk to him about it. I'm going to do some work this year here in 2023 to rebuild some of the stuff I've done to my teeth over the years. I grind my teeth at night, so I wear a mouthpiece, but before that I didn't, and so I'm going to get in there and get those fixed and get going here at 50 years old, and you can too. 512-345-3166. That's 512-345-3166. It's Dr. Greg Eckert and his great team. He is your dentist. It's Eckert with a U when you find him online. DrEckert.com. That's DrEckert.com at UECKERT. Start it up. That's your weekend right here on B&E. We'll help you get there. 1 hour down, 3 to go, and a lot to do. Including, you see the NFL Players Association, Buck, put out a organizational scorecard for how players are treated within different organizations as voted by the players.
Oh, who's the best?
Well, you might
Come
surprise
on
you.
now.
Well, it's your team you root for, as a matter of fact, which I will reveal.
But
But if it shows,
send it to that big
shows you
Galleria they have up
which
there.
ownership groups are investing in their facilities, and vis-a-vis that, their players and the people, and those that are cheapskates. You could probably guess who the worst is. Pretty easy, and among the best. But yeah, the Players Association, polled all of their players, on 2,200 players, and they voted on things from the training room to facilities to the weight room.
How'd
to
your
strength
Houston
staff.
Texans doing that?
Strong.
Were they strong in that?
Cowboys strong. The organizations that you can, I think, whether they're run well on the field, behind the scenes, how are the players treated? And the amenities that are built for them. It'll surprise you, some of the organizations that are cheapskates. I'll tell you that right now. Also, might surprise you. It surprised me to read this text. It says, I know a lot of families who take separate flights for their families to places.
Yeah, people are nervous about that, but they'll pile them up in their car and go on I-35 from here to Dallas.
That's kind of my thing. I've never, if I'm flying with my family or my wife, I'm nervous about it a little bit, but part of me is like, well, we're all together. But at the same time,
aren't you more likely to get struck by lightning than get in a plane crash?
And you're more likely to certainly get killed in a car crash, but people driving cars together all the time. We don't take separate vehicles everywhere we go. But I understand it, I guess. But it does seem a little over the top, but, to each his own. To each his own. This says, wait a minute. You mean to tell me, Mr. Godbolt, we missed out on Warrick Dunn because of a little rain?
What?
You scaredy cat.
A little rain? My head was hitting the top of the plane. I was coming out of my seat with my seatbelt on. You guys want to continue on through this, or do we turn around? I'm like, turn this baby around. I'll call Warwick and say, see you later.
See you later. Also love the texter on the Specs text line here on the show. The people that sent this text. Beautiful day with 3 emojis. Looks like a golf hole pin, a golf course swinger, and a beer. This guy's going to play some golf today. Good luck to that. Whatever you're doing, get outside. Rodeo Austin has their barbecue cook-off, which gets going today. I'm going to be out there later today doing some digital stuff.
We got the Cowboy breakfast this morning.
Is that today?
Yeah.
Awesome. That's down
That's
at
for free. Ty, you better. I'm telling you, it's right. Or free breakfast.
I can't leave. I can't leave. We need them here.
Well,
don't encourage him.
Breakfast will be over by then. Yes.
What do they have? The pancakes?
Oh, they got the pancake, the bacon, eggs down there. It's not at Auditorium Shores. I got to believe Bob Cole's down there.
Bob Cole's in the studio. I just saw him when I filled up my water.
We used to go there all the time. Just go hang down there.
Yeah, Rodeo's cranking up, and that
Free
starts
breakfast.
with the barbecue cook-off this weekend. It's always a good old time. So whatever you're doing, make an outdoor plan this weekend without a doubt. We'll dive in. Let's get to the headlines, trending topics, and then we'll dive into our coaches' corner. We're trying to figure out, will the Bears trade the number 1 pick? Who's wanting to come up to get it? All these things will be debated. And someone, we were talking about Bijan Robinson being the story of the draft so far, at least of the combine. Everybody's talking about him. Our man, screenwriter, says, hey, remember, guys, in 1977, Cowboys traded up to the number 2 pick to take Tony Dorsett, and that worked out pretty good. Bijan is the modern Tony D. Not at number 2 because, come on, Cowboys, let's go get him. Cowboys fans want old Bijan. So your dreams will be crushed, most likely by Jerry Jones in that scenario. But, that would be a great thing for football in the state of Texas if Bijan ended up a Dallas Cowboy.
I'll call Hoofy today.
Or a Houston Texan, but just, gosh forbid the Philadelphia Eagles land
Like
him.
I said, that's bad. That will be bad for football. That's not just bad for the division. The Cowboys. That's bad for football. That's bad for San Francisco and everybody included, because over the next couple of years, this group was probably going to get to a couple of Super Bowls, but with that guy, they could win a couple of Super Bowls.
A texter mentioned the Chargers for a landing spot for him earlier. And
they have Austin Eckler, and they've got...
he's getting a little older, though.
I don't know, a little older. He's like 27, 28 years old.
Is he?
Yeah. They just signed him.
Yeah,
that's old for running back.
And they drafted the kid out of A&M last year, and they like him. Who's the
Isaiah Spiller?
Isaiah Spiller.
I think he was a bit of a disappointment.
Well, he's a young rookie. He's a rookie. I wouldn't give up on Isaiah Spiller.
Yeah, I wouldn't give up on that dude yet either.
But I don't know. I sure,
because I can figure out what Jalen Hurts. I mean, I can't figure out what Jalen Hurts will be like 5 years from now. But Bijan 3 years from now.
Yeah. Well, and we had Daniel Jeremiah's sound earlier from the NFL Network, and he said it right. It's what we've said. He echoed what we've been saying. If you don't want the Eagles to get him if you're a Cowboys fan, for sure. But if you're a running back and you only have so many carries in your body, you'd rather use them on a good team.
Yes.
Right? And instead of going to a bad team and just getting pummeled for a few years before you have a chance to be good. And
then
maybe
that next contract is no good because you're all jammed up after
Saquon
a bad
would be
time.
the example of that for sure. And kind of Christian McCaffrey, right? Christian McCaffrey was a great player, went to Carolina, couldn't win, but then they traded him to San Francisco, and they're thrilled to have him at the back end of that contract that they signed. So he's just.
And I think you'll find out with Christian McCaffrey, most of his injuries don't come from real contact. He got hit hard.
Leg strains.
He's a kind of a track guy. I got a hammy. He's got ankle problems. He's had ankle problems. But he never gotten hit and all of a sudden, oh, no, he's busted his shoulder. He kind of hangs in there. It's always lower body stuff with him.
Let's get to your headlines, trending topics to start your weekend. UBEO Business Services brings it to you. Start with the Texas football news. This broke late yesterday as Chip Brown and the folks at Horns 24/7 Sports reporting that Texas Special Assistant Gary Patterson is going to step away from his role as that special assistant in order to spend more time in Fort Worth with his family, possibly to get back into college football in some way. After 21 seasons as the head coach at TCU, the 63-year-old joined the staff for the 2022 season. Said he loved every part of it, but he says, quote, right now I feel like I need to take some time for my wife, kids, and grandkids, while also looking to see if I can help college football on a larger scale. Texas begins spring football practice on Monday. Elsewhere in football, on-field drills for potential draftees began yesterday in Indianapolis with the defensive linemen and linebackers. That included 3 former Longhorns, along with defensive lineman Moro Ojomo, Keandre Coburn, and linebacker DeMarvion Overshown. They were competing yesterday. Ojomo showed off long arms, excellent agility, and quickness at 296 pounds. Coburn measured in at 6'2", 332, and it was Overshown who may have helped himself the most. He posted a 4.56 in the 40. Explosive broad jump at 10.4, and he measured in at 6'3" and nearly 230 pounds. Former Longhorn running backs Bijan Robinson, Roschon Johnson will compete with the running backs on Sunday. On the 40 acres, busy weekend for Texas athletics, of course. Texas baseball will open up a 3-game series at Cal State Fullerton tonight in Southern California. First game is 8 o'clock tonight here on the Horn. Tomorrow night at 7, and then Sunday at 2. Texas softball is going to be hosting the Texas Invitational. That's playing this morning, 9 o'clock. They play all weekend with a group of teams in town at McCombs Field. 9th-ranked Texas men's basketball looking to snap their 2-game losing skid tomorrow afternoon. They'll host 3rd-ranked Kansas. The Big 12 champions will be in town. That is a senior day event at Moody Center, 3 o'clock tomorrow, 2:30 pregame. Texas women look to clinch at least a share of the regular season championship in the Big 12. They'll face K-State tomorrow afternoon in Manhattan, Kansas, 4 o'clock. If they win and Oklahoma were to lose, they would clinch the outright championship. In college hoops last night, big win for Texas State. Bobcats, Sun Belt Conference Tournament, the 11 seed. They beat the 6-seeded Old Dominion big time. Mason Harrell led the Cats with 20 points. They'll now face Marshall, the 3-seed, on Saturday afternoon. NBA last night, Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic combined for 82 in a win over Philadelphia and break up the Spurs. They've won 2 straight now after breaking that 16-game losing skid. They beat Indiana 110-99. The former Baylor Bear Jeremy Sohan led the way with 22 points, 13 rebounds. Hey, Buck, before we dive into our coach's corner, I want to get your thoughts on Gary Patterson, because I know a lot of Longhorn fans wondering, but seems like it's all on good terms. It's just the time, and we'll let you discuss it. But, you do the tips for kids in the car line. Let me mention, tips for older kids, because I've got a 21-year-old, 22-year-old now, and 25, and your fear is they're going to, kids do dumb things, right?
Yes.
You had them.
Adults do dumb things. Kids do dumber.
Well, especially males and boys, the brain doesn't fully develop for a boy till he's 24, 25 years old. Judgment and that frontal lobe and frontal cortex is, that's where judgment is housed. And we know as kids, we all did dumb things. My buddy and I flipped a car and nearly killed ourselves in college.
I did the same, yeah.
You do dumb things.
I have a brand.
You have a brand.
It's
yeah.
dumb.
Yeah, you have a brand. We do dumb things. And I say that in respect to the 2 big stories that's dominated the headlines. You realize that the Brandon Miller situation at Alabama, where a young lady was killed, and we know what his level of his involvement, and now the story with Jalen Carter, the 21-year-old Georgia defensive tackle, both ended up in loss of life, both, bad judgment. However, you see that their roles within those,
and a number of people within that circle, yes.
And do you realize that this is an eerie thing? Those 2 incidents happened on the exact same day at almost the exact same time. That while the car was wrecking in the early morning hours of January the 15th in Athens, Georgia, killing 2 people, the trigger was being pulled in the early morning hours in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, where a young lady was shot and killed. A mother was killed. That happened within hours of one another, 275 miles apart. And obviously they've become huge stories in the national sports conversation and landscape because these are two young players who are among the best at what they do, and their futures are all ahead of them. Brandon Miller is going to be a top 3 pick in the NBA draft. He's a one-and-done player who used terrible judgment on that night. Now, again, when did the text come in? Should he have, known that there was a gun in the car? All those things are still being hashed out. Should he have been suspended by Nate Oates? That can all be debated. The situation now with Jalen Carter, was he part of a drag racing thing and reckless driving? Clearly, it appears that way. No one's saying he's at fault for the death of these two people, but at the same time, he was a part of it. And the point I would make, Buck, is just for your kids, for young people, gosh, just your life can change that quickly. Like
Absolutely.
Everything in front of you. And fortunately, those two young people weren't killed. Remember Brandon Miller at Alabama, his windshield took 2 bullets. So his life was, who knows? You catch a bullet in that terrible situation. Jalen Carter was going whatever speed he was going. And
the things that you do, there are consequences to it, just about everything. And you change not only your life, but the lives of others.
Yeah.
Forever.
And, tragically, in the situation in Athens, Georgia, 2 people were killed, but by the police report, and 104 miles an hour and weaving in and out of traffic, fortunately, no one else died. No one else was killed by the recklessness of those people that night. And it's just a reminder. I think we've all been there.
Well, and we're in that time of year around here, man. We're close to prom time for kids that'll think they're all right. Let me have a few drinks. Let me have one more. And then they'll make poor judgments. This is it's springtime. That spring is in the air. You're getting ready to get out of
spring break.
Lots of stuff happening, graduations, things like that. Yeah,
I know it's probably a broken record for young people, but man, those 2 examples. You talk about your goal to win the lottery. Those two young men are carrying lottery tickets. Jalen Carter could be the first pick of the draft. Brandon Miller could be, and yet they're still put themselves in situations like that, and that's judgment, character, all of that. But at the same time, we almost had a tragic situation when I was 19 years old. It's just a reminder. And it's still eerie to me that happened within hours of each other, 275 miles apart. Different situations, but same scenario, tragic loss of life because of reckless behavior and terrible judgment. And in one case, one lady's dead, and looks like 2 young people are going to go to jail for the rest of their life. And Brandon Miller and Jalen Carter inserted themselves into those situations, unfortunately. Let's dive into our Coach's Corner. It's brought to you by Audio Visual Consultations. That's online at avconsultations.com. All right, they never do that. Now, Tom will make us feel stupid on the text line with his mean text, but that's okay. We can handle that.
Yeah, we can handle that.
We can handle Tom. He's never at a loss for opinions, but we appreciate them, and we appreciate Tom's partnership because he's tremendous. Buck,
and I'm getting close to the Masters on my 85-incher, but I am watching the Arnold Palmer deal there.
Ooh, Bay Hill.
Bay Hill is sweet.
That's where Scotty Scheffler. Remember, Scotty won last year
That's
at.
Right. This was his role, right? He had just won.
Yeah, he won in Phoenix.
And now
Waste Management, and then he won this, and he put on the red sweater, and
then he won the Masters.
Then he won here at the Del Mas.
That's
Flag.
right. Then he won the Masters. He won 4 in a row, right?
Remember, he went from way down to number 1 in like a month and a half.
Yeah, he won 4 in a row, I believe.
Yeah, and he is. He'll be one of the favorites here at the Bay Hill Invitational, the Arnold Palmer Invitation at Bay Hill, but. That's good. Also, Gary Patterson, your thoughts, Buck? Not hugely surprised. And you think, your opinion is Gary Patterson's done with coaching at 63 years old?
Yeah, I think he wanted to go give it another shot, and he really missed being around the players. I think he got very involved with the players here, and I think you could tell on the feel of his involvement. But at 63, he's got grandkids now. He and Kelsey, they have grandkids, not just kids, but grandkids. And he wants to go be a part of their lives back in the Fort Worth area. I think he's still involved in a lot of stuff back in Fort Worth.
He's got a foundation.
Yeah.
No question he does. And look, he said it to Chip and the folks at Horn 24/7 that, when he took the gig here, he had really, it was pretty quickly after.
I don't want to say never say never, but, I just think that.
Well, remember, the divorce happened at TCU in October. And by December, he was in discussions with Sark to take this role. So, as he said, I really I went from one job to the next,
And
and
what
I need
level
to get
of
back to
football are they talking about? Are there smaller schools that are talking to him? Will there be smaller schools? I mean, after another year of this, and if he just goes and chills out, I mean, you got to be hot. There's a time when you're hot.
Well, Mac Brown was
You'll
out
come
5
here.
years and came back.
Well, Mac Brown was on TV every weekend.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. You wonder if Gary Patterson goes and does some TV, does some broadcasting. There's opportunities there. When he says to Chip that he wants to help college football on a bigger scale, that could mean a million different things, but on a
Playoff
bigger
committee?
Yeah, or czar of college football. I don't know. I mean, something.
They need a czar.
They do. They certainly do. But not surprising. And I assume next week at some point we'll hear from Steve Sarkisian as they open spring practice. And I'm assuming you'll hear Sark talk about how appreciative they are of having Gary a part of the program for over a year now. And, we'll hear what Sark has to say about that. But Gary Patterson, very complimentary about his time he spent in Austin. And, it fired some people up in Fort Worth that he went right from the purple to the orange.
Sure.
And to see him in a burnt orange polo and wearing the Bevo was a weird thing after 25 years in with the horn frog on his lapel, but and wearing purple. All right, let's hear some. How about this, Buck? Top of the we talked about Bijan Robinson being one of the top stories at the Combine. Another one, obviously, is quarterbacks. They're going to throw tomorrow. It looks like all the top quarterbacks except Bryce Young will be throwing. You're going to have Will Levis and C.J. Stroud, Anthony Richardson going through their work tomorrow. Let's start at the top because the Bears have the number one pick in Indianapolis this week. Their general manager is a guy named Ryan Poles, and he was asked about, would they be willing to trade that number one pick if someone covets a quarterback at the top?
Yeah, that's a good question. There are some scenarios that it might benefit us to move, before free agency, opens potentially. But again, when we get back with all the information that we've gathered from here, I think we'll have a better direction.
Is that just because it would give you a clear view of what you need, or how would it be beneficial?
A clear view of what we need. And there's scenarios where you could, add players as well, potentially, which again gives you some clarity on what you want to do in the draft.
I'm still on board with
Very
him.
articulate, if you know what I mean.
And Ryan Poles, yeah. I'm on board with them at Indianapolis because if I'm the Bears, I don't want to go past 4, maybe 5, because at 4, you almost still assure yourself of getting Jalen Carter or Will Anderson. Because whoever comes up to get one, if it's Indianapolis at 4, they're going to take one. They'll take a quarterback. Houston will take a quarterback at 2.
Right, and
Arizona's
the Bears
a wild.
aren't playing the quarterback game. They got their guy.
They got theirs. But you still want to get – because you're looking for Hall of Fame talent at the top of a draft. That's what you're doing. Let's be fair. You're not looking for Pro Bowlers. You want to draft Hall of Famers here.
Mm-hmm.
And I think most evaluators would say Jalen Carter and Will Anderson bring Hall of Fame kind of traits. Pass rush skills, interior defensive linemen. I mean, that's what you're looking for at the top of a draft. And quarterbacks, that's the hardest thing to judge. But at the same time, typically when you see a can't-miss kind of prospect, he's a can't-miss kind of prospect, right? And that's what Nolan Smith and Will Anderson are. So if you could still stay at 4 and still get one of those two guys, you'd be pretty happy with yourself in that spot. And you add some other pieces and draft capital in the trade back.
Oh boy, there are going to be some people willing to give up a lot to get to that spot.
Well, let's go there. How about the head coach of your Seattle Seahawks? Seattle Seahawks are sitting at 5. Now, I don't know that they would go up to take a quarterback, but let's hear from Pete Carroll. You're not in this territory very often, and when you are, you might need to address the position that's most important.
We are totally connected to the quarterbacks that are coming out. This is a really huge opportunity for us. It's a rare opportunity. We've been drafting in the low 20s for such a long time. You just don't get the chance with these guys. So we're deeply involved with all that.
Deeply involved.
Humble brag by him too.
Yeah, well,
that's true. I mean, there's a quarterback purgatory. If you're drafting at the back end of the first round because you're in the playoffs but not maybe winning Super Bowls, you don't have a chance to draft a quarterback. Great quarterback, right?
And they're going to get Geno Smith an opportunity. They want to give him an opportunity, at least for another year.
I think it's a good landing spot for Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, me
or
too.
Will Levis.
But you could probably trade
Could
back.
be.
Yeah, Will Levis, Anthony Richardson, play behind Geno Smith and learn because those are seen as more, work in progress type quarterbacks, but a lot of talent. Let's hear from another one that could potentially come up with the Bears and be interested. How about the Carolina Panthers? They've been quarterback desperate for a while now. And their general manager is a guy named Scott Fitterer, and he said, yeah, we may need to be aggressive if the right quarterback is there.
Why how aggressive, without tipping your hat too much, how aggressive are you willing to be in order to get the guy that you guys feel would be the right person?
You got to be aggressive. If you have a guy you have conviction on, go get him. You know, you don't want to be reckless, but you want to look to see what's been done in the past, and if you have to give up some, assets to go get him, I hope we're not picking in the top 10 again. So it's going to be a lot more if you're in 22 or something else at that point. So this might be a year to do things like that.
All right, so similar, echoing what you heard from Pete Carroll. And one other who may be the most likely outside of Indianapolis to move up is the Vegas Raiders, Buck. Josh McDaniel.
I believe that's going to happen.
Because they kicked Derek Carr to the curb, and he's a good quarterback.
Yes.
So they must have a plan to go upgrade the quarterback position. And here's Josh McDaniel from Indianapolis this week talking about he's going to be meeting with all these quarterbacks. He's going to talk to Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud. He wants to take their temperature to figure out if that person could be the quarterback of the future in Vegas.
And good morning to you.
Right. Going right in there hot, Coach.
I obviously Charlie knows this. We love quarterbacks, and so we all know we have an opening there at this point now, and going to get that started tonight. Actually, going to get to meet with, I'd say 6 or 7 of them.
Good.
Tonight, just to have an introduction, and it's a long process. There's a lot that goes into it, but there's some quarterbacks to like. That's for sure.
All right, there's Josh McDaniel.
They're the silliest group of all. I mean, they really got off of that guy, Josh McDaniels. They found a way to dislike that guy. I mean, how silly are they? Now they're looking for a young quarterback again, I believe.
Oh, I think they are. I think you can't sell to your owner that we got rid of Derek Carr and we didn't add a young. I mean, whoever it is. I mean, if Josh McDaniel can sell that. Hey, Will Levis is our guy. Will Levis is the next big thing.
Yeah,
He's
that's
Josh
fine.
Allen.
Sell that to me at least,
because you got to sell this to Mark Davis. That hey, why'd we get rid of a good quarterback that we just signed? And you guys are bringing in Jameis Winston. That's not any good. What are we doing over here?
If I'm them, I'm tanking for Caleb Williams.
Well, there's also that.
Well, that next year, the following year is another kind of big year.
Yeah.
Well, where are they picking?
That's 7. Vegas is 7.
So they'd probably have to
go up a little bit.
Up. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but for them, they have to. I mean, it's Vegas. They got a splash there.
Yeah.
You can't get rid of the guy that they got rid of and come back with
Jared
Aaron Rodgers for a year. And then you're going to have to play a game with him.
We're still waiting
on
Aaron
yeah,
Rodgers.
I shouldn't be mentioning his name.
He's feeling both sides of his darkness at this point. All
Gosh.
right, there you go. There's some Ryan Poles, the Bears GM, saying, yeah, we'd move if the right offer came.
I think the Cowboys should move on the free agent from Vegas, slot receiver.
Hunter Renfrow?
Hell yeah.
Ooh, is he a free agent? They just signed him.
I don't think he is.
Thought they just signed him.
He's concussion.
Are you sure?
He's concussion guy, too.
Oh, yeah.
He is?
We'll be back. When we do, we pick up those conversations. We'll talk about some of the quarterbacks that are maybe behind the top names, the C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young, Will Levis group that maybe I want to get your thoughts on them. Are there some sleepers out there that people aren't talking about? Also, back to the Longhorn weekend, back to Gary Patterson's decision, and it's a Friday, getting into a beautiful weekend here on B&E. Talking plenty of football, combine, NFL. We mentioned the star of the show yesterday. As the on-field work began, DeMarvion Overshown did himself some favors, 230 pounds and ran 4.56. He's showing that positionless football ability. He can play a lot of places for you with long arms and a lot of explosion. But the star was the Georgia edge rusher Nolan Smith. Remember, when Nolan Smith came out of high school, Buck, in 2019, he was the number one player in the nation. So this is not a surprise. And then at Georgia, he was a good player, and then he was hurt this year. But at 6'2", 240 yesterday, ran a 4.39 in the 40-yard dash and had a workout that was, how about this? Nolan Smith, right now he's not projected as one of the top, pass rushers. I think the injury, Will Anderson is seen as the best edge rusher, but this may change as teams get to know Nolan.
A little taller.
Yeah, 6'2", but, Von Miller wasn't the tallest guy. Well, how about this? NFL Research tweeted that Nolan Smith out of Georgia, his performance yesterday, he ran faster than Saquon Barkley in the 40. He was quicker than Nick Chubb, the Browns running back. His vertical jump was higher than DK Metcalf. And his broad jump better than that of Von Miller. So a lot of explosion out of Nolan Smith. So we'll watch.
And where's he projected right now?
Like first round, middle to late first round.
And I mean,
that could go up.
He was seen before his injury as the best player on that defense. So I mean, Jalen Carter's the biggest freak, but he kind of takes plays off sometimes.
Yes. Well, and Nolan Smith is also, he's a smart kid. I mean, I think, where they have him now, this is what a performance like that will remind people. Let's go back and watch his sophomore tape. Let's go back and watch his high school tape. This kid was the number one player coming out, of high school. And, NFL teams pay attention to that. He was a special player. When you're a special player in high school, then you're special in college, and then you put on a combine performance like that. It's like, well, he's got the uncoachables. We can't teach him how to run 4.39, run faster than Saquon Barkley at 2.
Yeah, he's going to remain good,
and he can get off the edge. But with pass rush, it's about pass rush, moves and the bend and the ability to get to that quarterback. But that's a guy that really blew up yesterday. Today it's corners and specialists. So the DBs, usually the DBs are the fastest guys, right? I mean, there will be some real low 40 times today, and then quarterbacks, receivers, and tight ends tomorrow. That's going to be must see. I'm going to have to record that for sure because we want to see the quarterbacks, the receivers, and then. It's a great tight end class. It really is. I mean, you're going to –
Boy, is it ever.
And I would get to know that. I keep saying it for the Cowboys, but they're going to have to replace Dalton Schultz most likely. And there's a kid named Dalton Kincaid who's a really good player out of Utah. Michael Mayer out of Notre Dame. These are kind of names you're going to hear at the back end of the first round where the Cowboys are picking. Cowboys want Bijan, though. Cowboys
I would be
fans.
so disappointed if they drafted the tight end in the first round.
I wouldn't, but
I'm telling you, they're going to go with Ferguson.
Well,
I promise.
Turd Ferguson, the new tight end of your Dallas Cowboys.
He will, and he will catch 75 balls next year.
Oh, that's a lot of balls.
In Big Mac's offense, baby. Here we go. Well, I love that we have a producer that's driving the train.
Big Mac is going to have the most boring offense the Cowboys have seen in years.
Hey, listen.
Because we want to run the ball.
Yeah, I want to run the ball too. It works.
By the way,
who's running the ball?
Malik Davis, cut Zeke, bring him back. I don't care. Let's run the thing.
Don't say bring Zeke back. Zeke isn't running the ball.
Draft a guy in the 7th round. I mean,
Players
we saw
don't
the
matter,
Super Bowl
Buck.
winning the Chiefs with Isaiah Pacheco, who
I mean, you guys act
Don't
like
compare
that.
it
Those
to the
things,
Chiefs.
don't compare anything
Don't
to
put
what
the Cowboys
they do.
in the same sense with the Chiefs, please.
The guy who's calling plays there.
No, I'm not saying as a total team, but the running back position. It's not hard to figure that out. And I don't think signing Tony Pollard to a $10 million plus per year deal is going to.
For 1 year, I like it though, because you have other issues. That's why I'm with you on Tony Pollard in a different circumstance. I wouldn't be for franchise tagging him, but I am.
He is one of your weapons. He's
because
one of
he's your most
weapons.
explosive weapon.
Correct.
You can argue between he and CeeDee Lamb, but
you can't find another guy to take his place.
For 1 year at $10 million, which is offset by cutting Zeke, I think it's something you have to do because you have other needs you have to address with what little money you have to spend in free agency and then through the draft. So I like it. It's not like you're locking Tony Pollard up for the long term. You're getting him for 1 year. At a guaranteed deal, I think that's the safest bet right now for the Dallas Cowboys.
What if they don't cut Zeke?
They have to. They can't do one without the other. the other.
I could see a world where they don't cut him.
Well,
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me.
That would be bad. To me, that would be a typical Cowboys move. The only reason you're bringing him back for loyalty.
That's all you're bringing him back
by
for.
By cutting him and designating him a June 1 release, you're saving almost $11 million.
Go ahead and draft Bijan in the third. I'm not Bijan, but Roschon in the 3rd or 4th round. Get him.
Well, you say
and
that.
Now you got a guy who can be not only just your goal line guy. Zeke's good for the. Once again, I don't know how many guys are as good as Zeke Elliott when he comes down, getting down towards the goal line and getting in and finding ways to get to the end
A
zone.
lot of guys. He's back. He's okay.
I like him a lot down there. I mean, short yardage stuff, I think he's fantastic. But you can get a guy like Roschon to do all those things and more. He can play two series.
To Ty's point, the Texans in the 4th round drafted a rookie, Dameon Pierce, who was a more physical runner than Zeke last year.
Oh, that's fine. I'll give Roschon in the 4th round.
Right.
I'll be fine.
Zeke, had 11 touchdowns, but these were all short runs from the goal line.
But
would
you feel safe with Roschon Johnson out there in regular down situations, 1st and 10, 2nd and 10, middle of the game, not goal line, not short yardage guy, but
I'd rather have Malik Davis at this point.
Okay,
has a season under his belt, and you'd rather have Tony Pollard in the game because defensive coordinators don't like it when you've got Tony Pollard in the game along with other weapons. But we'll see. Mike McCarthy taking over that offense.
Zeke is not a weapon any longer.
No,
he's a dude.
Plotter, good running back. Average to a little slightly below average running back right now.
Yes,
which
at this time of his career, yes.
And it's just do the math. If you can save $11 million by cutting him, and that pays for Tony Pollard for 1 year, that's good finances in my mind. You're not investing long haul,
but that money could be going somewhere else. The's a lot of other needs.
Well, but you can't
get rid of that guy though.
What about Terrence Steele?
You have this opinion that you agree that Dak Prescott needs more weapons, not less. You don't just release a weapon that's a proven upper echelon NFL weapon. 6 yards a carry, a threat
that any team would love to have.
Right. You don't just replace that. You go with a proven commodity if it can be a net sum gain when your salary cap. Because again, you have to address other issues. You need a corner, and you need a defensive lineman, and you need another wide receiver, and you have Tony Pollard under control. So don't let him get away. You can draft the future later in the draft. I'm not against that, but for right now, for this season, you need Tony Pollard.
And somebody said, did I just say that Rodgers wouldn't be a splash? I'm talking about for the future. I'm not talking about for next
Vegas?
year. Yeah, I mean, they need to get a younger quarterback because Aaron Rodgers this time next year, there'll be another problem. I mean, every offseason there's a problem.
Yeah,
and there's going to be, right?
Well, and it sounded like Josh McDaniels, you're talking to him in relation to the Vegas Raiders. And
he in relationship to anybody is going to be a problem every year.
If the Raiders trade for Aaron Rodgers, that would be a splash, regardless. I mean, I know personally what you're saying, but that would be, because we were talking about if you lose Derek Carr, you better have a plan to replace him, and you let Derek Carr go, kick him to the curb, you better have a plan.
I think they need a draft choice.
Aaron Rodgers, you could sell that to your owner, and you could sell that to your fan base. But you're right. It does feel like Josh McDaniel wants to find a quarterback. Let me ask you this. Robert Saleh with the Jets said yesterday that he sees Derek Carr, who is a free agent, and they've talked to him, as kind of what Matthew Stafford was when he left Detroit. Would you agree with that? Is Derek Carr on par with Matthew Stafford? That
not even close. Arm talent.
Well, Matthew Stafford was the first pick of the draft, and languishing in Detroit. Derek Carr been,
but they're both in the same. There's no
same age.
Yeah,
same age.
And as for toughness and taking it and being the guys that can represent your team, they're probably on the same.
Well, Dak Prescott.
They're not separated by that much.
No.
Derek Carr and Kirk Cousins, all one and the same in my eyes.
Well, and Matthew Stafford was kind of in that conversation before he went to, because he was with Detroit.
Oh, there's no doubt.
Everyone knew he could spin it with anybody, and great arm talent, but
could take a hit and be there and play hurt and do all those things.
Well, Robert Saleh, obviously, the Jets need a quarterback, and Derek Carr would be interesting. He's visiting teams there,
but they're still on the wait once again for Aaron Rodgers. Everybody's waiting for the guy in the darkness.
Come on, man, bring it. Hey, we'll get into this NFL Players Association survey and poll that graded all 32 teams on how they treat their players and the amenities and their facilities and their training staff. Might surprise you, the Super Bowl champions have a gripe. The players with the Chiefs are not happy. There's a team dealing with rats in their facility, and there's a team that's just a cheapskate, half-bit organization.
Come on, don't be talking about my Giants like that.
I won't talk. That's not the Giants. Big Blue, the Maras, they do it okay.
Yes.
But that's interesting because they polled the Players Association did a poll of all 2,200 players, current and former, on facilities, how they're taken care of, the amenities, who does the best job and who does the worst. And by the way, that'll matter come free agency in about 2 weeks. When players are looking at where they're going to go, money's important, but they see these grades and see that somebody got a straight Fs on how they treat their players. That may dissuade you as a free agent. I'm not going there. They seem like a bunch of chinchy cheapskates there. We'll get into that poll coming up. We're also talking plenty of football, plenty of Longhorn conversation this morning. This says Devin A-Chain to Dallas.
Be all right with that.
That's an interesting one. He's the explosion player out of Texas A&M, track guy. Can really, really run. I'll give you coming back in hot or not a running back I like. I need you to watch his film because I've been watching him. I think he could be a sleeper running back that people are not talking about, and I wonder if you got to see him. Also, Buck, on that quarterback debate, where are you on the Tennessee quarterback Hendon Hooker? Because when I think about this and I look at what he was doing at Tennessee, he's an older player, right? He's 24 years old already.
He's going to take care of his body. He's going to get his leg back.
And he was on his way to a Heisman Trophy and shredding defenses in the SEC, kind of to a Joe Burrow level before he got hurt. And then, of course, he didn't get to finish the season, and Tennessee lost a couple games late. Is Hendon Hooker one of those guys who, if you're the Raiders or you're the Panthers or if you're the Cowboys, you're looking for a backup quarterback later in the draft, is he a guy?
Looking like I took where the Cowboys took Dak.
That's fourth round.
Knee, yeah.
And there are some people that think Hendon Hooker, if he shows well in his medicals and he looks like he's going to be healthy, that he could be even as high as a second-round pick. That people look at him and say, wait a second, we can bring him in and let him develop in our system. And that's where a team that maybe misses out at the top on a C.J. Stroud or a Bryce Young could say, you know what, we're going to pass on this Will Levis idea. We're going to get Hendon Hooker in the second or third round. That's an interesting name to watch as well. But we'll get the running backs. We'll get to this survey. We'll also get some hot or not topics coming up. And did you know, I'll get you this, we have an official winner for you fast food connoisseurs on a Friday. Don't eat meat today, bud.
I know.
Fast food connoisseurs like Ty through there. We have discovered the world's healthiest fast food cheeseburger. Healthiest fast food cheeseburger. I'll have that for you coming next. Never a regret each and every time. It's B&E with you, hot or not, on a beautiful Friday. I hope you made it through the storms of last night. It rolled through. You said had some high winds. Ty has a tree down in his backyard because of the straight line winds that you say it hit your house?
It's on his roof.
Yeah. Hit my house and rolled off, went through the neighbor's fence.
That's not good. That's not good. As we get after it on a Friday morning. Yeah, somebody said, why would I want a healthy cheeseburger? Well, I didn't say it was healthy, but according to the new study, ranked the healthiest fast food cheeseburgers. I don't know why you would do this, but of all, they're all, you could eat something healthier than a cheeseburger. But if you're looking for the healthiest of the fast food cheeseburgers, the best, and congratulations, how about this, Buck, in the end, the Whataburger with cheese at Whataburger is the number one healthiest cheeseburger of all the fast food cheeseburgers. The Whataburger with cheese at Whataburger.
Okay. I knew I was being healthy.
Followed.
I knew I've been healthy for years.
Yeah, eating 3 of them, probably not. Followed closely by the cheeseburger at In-N-Out Burger, which means the Lone Star State is in good shape because we have the most Whataburgers, of course, because it was founded here, Corpus Christi, and the second most In-N-Outs.
Been to In-N-Out one time, and I never have to go back again.
Was underwhelmed.
Did you get everything animal style?
What kind of style?
What is
animal
that?
style?
No, what is that? What does that include?
It's where they put like the sauce and onions, and
no,
it makes it good.
Did you say animal?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like to fancy up my stuff too much.
The most unhealthy cheeseburger? Burger King.
Come on.
Yeah.
The Whopper.
The
with
Whopper.
cheese.
Whopper
Have
with
it
cheese.
your way.
Have it your way.
I'm going to have it my way, yes.
Yes.
Mayo, the whole works on it, yes.
Yeah, but those are your two. Rallies or Checkers is in third place. Culver's 4 as far as healthy. Del Taco has a hamburger cheeseburger. Dairy Queen, Carl's Jr., McDonald's, Five Guys is 9th.
Culver's is now my little mini Luby's.
Little mini Luby's. You are of that age at this point, my friend.
Yes, I am.
Hey, so we're talking running backs and Cowboys, and there's a running back I really like that I don't think people are talking about. I was surprised after watching him play and then watching some film on. I'll be interested to see how he runs on Sunday. This kid from Pittsburgh, Buck, Israel Abanikanda.
Yes.
Israel Abanikanda is that's going to be a dark. You and I will be on that train, and because I love Roschon Johnson. This is a different type of back, though. If you watch him at Pitt, Pittsburgh's got some pretty good players. I mean, they had Kenny Pickett last year. Jordan Addison was at Pittsburgh before transferring to USC.
Got some pretty good defensive players.
Elijah Clancy, this kid, the defensive tackle that broke Aaron Donald's 40 time for a defensive tackle, was one of the stars of yesterday at the Combine. Yeah, Israel Abanikanda is a name to watch. He was a big-time high school player. He's 5'11", 215. He's only a junior, though, Buck, and he's only 20 years old. He's going to be a young player. I think that's a guy to watch if you can get him in the 4th round kind of player. Really like him and his upside. But
my deal is what happens with a guy like Deuce Vaughn. The Deuce is on the loose.
He's coming back, I thought.
No, he's in this draft, and he'll be running on Sunday. He's a gadget player. I mean, I think you're going to look at him in the 5th roundish and know what you're getting with him, and know how he can scare a defense on a 3rd down and use him in your screen game.
But you're not afraid to use him 1st, 2nd, and 3rd down either, because he still can be pretty effective.
The Bears should go get that guy.
They just got through with a little Wilbur Montgomery looking dude.
You'll take him as the Eagles. It'll be like Darren Sproles all over again. The little Darren Sproles. Or remember they had Brian Westbrook. One of those guys. Westbrook was more of a durable back than that.
Penn State fans all upset because you don't like Miles Sanders.
So you like this Abanikanda
I do.
of mine. Yeah, I like that player. Also in Hot or Not, I did watch the ruling, what they do, the official rendering, but Alex Murdaugh found guilty of murdering his wife and son. Have you seen the documentary on Netflix about this, about the murders there in the low country of South Carolina?
Yeah, it's good.
It's real good. And this dude's a scumbag. And that whole family is a group of scumbags. I'm glad that guy's going to jail. They've run that county for a long, long time from the DA's chair. That was surprising to a lot of people. How about that jury? They heard like 29 days of testimony, and they sequestered for 2.5 hours and came out and said, guilty. You shot them.
It didn't take very long after all that.
I know.
That proceedings.
I mean, it was, you guys ready to get out of here? This guy's a guilty fool. And remember, the big question mark was, should the defense put him on the stand?
Yeah, that's why they don't call me. That's why I've never been called up for jury duty because my deal is guilty.
Well,
wait a minute, you haven't heard his evidence?
I don't want you on
guilty.
my jury either.
Why? Come on.
Because it's due process, and you hear
Do
all
what?
sides and go in with an open mind.
I'll listen to all sides. Guilty.
No, that dude was guilty. I mean, golly, what a kind of scumbag can shoot his wife in the back and then his son, 22 years old, not just one time with a shotgun, which was been enough in the chest. He then shot him in the neck and the head, like to make sure.
Drugs will make you do crazy things.
Dude, I don't. That is an evil doer right there. I'm glad he's going to prison for his life. He'll be sentenced this morning here in a little while. Coming right back on that. All right, what do you have for us in Hot or Not, Ty?
So the Toronto Raptors are taking some heat because it's National Women's History Month, and they had a video play during one of their games where they said it starts with Beyonce said girls run the world. Why do you think that's true? And they asked the players. So I'll play the sound real quick.
Who is this that did this?
The Toronto Raptors.
Okay, the Raptors. Okay. Why do girls run the world?
Because they're the only one that can procreate. They birth everybody. All women are great because they're all queens.
They give birth.
They procreate everybody.
Well, they are pretty important to the species. Let's just be honest about that. Females in every species.
They quickly deleted the video.
Was that bad?
Well, I mean, it's the quote is, "They are the only one that can procreate," Micaiah Flynn said, and Precious Achiuwa said, "They birth everybody." That's the best things you could say about women?
Well, it's pretty important to the furtherment
I'm
of
not
the
saying
people.
anything about I need a sandwich or anything, but I'm not going to go that direction. I know what you're waiting for. I'm not going to do it.
And the best one out of the three was from Scotty Barnes, who said, "All women are great because they are queens."
That's true. Well, I mean, you wouldn't
buy
be
that one.
None of us would be here without our mama. Just
That's
saying.
for dang sure.
And your dad. But your mom was pretty important. She had to carry it. But, I don't know if that's controversial. They could have said better things, I think, but
Sure,
it
they
certainly
could have
wasn't
said it in a different way, yeah.
offensive.
So it's not hot.
Neutral. Just don't ask Cam Newton that question. You know what I'm saying? Remember when Cam was on there talking about what he looks for in a lady?
Oh, my goodness.
He's kind of like you. Hey, maybe a sandwich.
A sandwich or two, maybe?
Bacon and eggs.
I didn't say that now. Come on.
You didn't. You treat your
I'm
wife
holding-
like a queen.
That's
you do.
true.
And your daughters and your
Oh,
granddaughters.
my goodness.
You're great to people in general. Hey, we come back. We're going to pick this up, and we'll dive into your favorite team and how they were graded by the players of the facilities. I think there's a lot of good, interesting nuggets in there. We'll also get back to the Longhorns. Gary Patterson is going to step aside from his role with Steve Sarkisian. Latest coming. B&E on a Friday. We're halfway through the Friday edition, 3 March. Beautiful. Yesterday was a pretty nasty day on the roadways and the weather-wise, and then the storm overnight or evening last night into the morning. Beautiful today, though. It's going to be fantastic today and into the weekend. We'll take that. We've also got NFL Combine conversations, including a former Longhorn helping himself in a big way yesterday, it feels like. Also, one guy might have pushed himself way up in the first round. Details on that coming up on top of the NFL conversation. Somebody said, have you guys talked about the Texas Smoke? I said no on the text line. But Texas Smoke, you know what that is, Buck? That is the newest professional sports team here in Austin, Texas. We know we have the Austin FC.
Yes.
We have the Austin Gamblers of the Pro Rodeo, Pro Bull Riding Professional League, with the top bull riders in the world, including a member of that Austin Gamblers team is the best bull rider, not just in the world, but maybe of all time in the world.
Yes.
In Vito Lemmy.
So what'd be the Smoke?
Let me guess. Disc golf?
Keep going. Then we also have Dell Match Play coming, so the professional golfers
There
will
you
be
go.
here at the end of the month. NASCAR. We've got
F1.
F1 and MotoGP.
Yeah, baby. I
We're
love
a
my
professional
MotoGP.
sport. Well, the Texas Smoke. Ty is eager to know. Did you say disc golf team?
I'm saying drag racing.
He said disc golf. You know he's referring to smoke.
Oh yeah, of course. That's good. That's good, Ty. That works out just well. That's my feelings totally on it.
They are Austin's professional fast pitch softball team.
Oh.
On the ladies' side, the Texas Smoke will begin play June 15th.
I'll be back in sensitivity training on this.
What do you mean? There's a lot of young. I'm good for them, right? A lot of softball is huge. Just like baseball is huge on the juniors and the youth side. Softball big. We know at the University of Texas they'll be hosting their another tournament this weekend, the Texas Invitational. But when those young ladies are done, like Kat Osterman, where do you go play, right? I mean, I'm glad.
Playing the pros.
Got to have it. Well, and look, to create revenue and something like that, there has to be interest. But I think there'd be a lot of parents of young people and fans who would tell you that they love watching. Look, the TV ratings for the College World Series on the softball side are huge for ESPN. When we get down to when Oklahoma dominates everybody at the College World Series, ESPN's done very well. So there is a market for it. We have a team now, Austin Smoke or Texas Smoke. I kind of like the name. This says the Texas Stars. Well, Texas Stars technically are a minor league affiliate of a professional team, which would be. I mean, we're talking about the top of the line, right? The top level of a sport. Round Rock Express are a minor league baseball team. Texas Stars are a minor league hockey team.
Correct.
But they're pros. They're getting paid, so they're professional athletes. But it's not the top level. We're talking about playing at the top. This will be the top level of fast pitch softball coming to Austin, Texas in June. Keep an eye on it. Texas Smoke. You like the name?
I do.
Hey, how was your day yesterday? I heard you were putting your last will and testament together.
I was with my wife.
How did that go?
You found out your value pretty quick.
And how are we looking?
Not good. Not great. I'm not talking about my wife's value. I'm talking about my value. Not all that great, but that's okay. You got to do that. If you're fortunate enough to leave your kids something behind, that's great. I didn't get anything left behind. I was one of 8. There wasn't too much left behind.
You're not going to be transferring generational wealth?
Oh, no.
No?
Well, that's why they got a chance to go to college and do for themselves. That's what life is all about sometimes. You can't be given everything.
You still could win the lottery before you're done.
That's right. I'm not done. I'm not trying to help. I'm not done trying to help out. Not just
Is
them.
there a lottery win clause in your will?
No.
If something's triggered if you
Oh,
do
no,
win
but the
lottery?
state will find out that somebody will find out that they're yes. You'll be splitting that up too.
Are
if
you
did.
Are you a one lump sum guy or over a span
Oh no.
of time?
Oh yeah, I'm one lump sum. I don't know how long I'm going. I'm not waiting 20 years for you to give me my lottery money. Give me half immediately or a quarter immediately. I think I can make it from that point on. I don't want to wait it out. Why would you want to wait it out? Why would you do that?
Tax purposes.
Dude, if you won $80 million, you can figure out all that stuff. You can figure out what's going where and who you got to pay off for this. But yeah, it was good. It was very interesting. Sitting with a lawyer and doing all that kind of stuff. It's just, you start to think about, damn, what did I get left behind?
Well, I'm glad you did that. And
I got left behind with a wonderful mother.
It's
That's
important.
what I did.
You don't want you want your wishes and wants known. You don't want your kids to have to fight over that.
Dude, people will fight over everything. I mean, I'm finding out where are you going to get buried? No, Dad wanted to get buried here. He wanted to go back to his hometown.
Correct.
I mean, I'm like, fighting over that? Really?
Yeah, you don't want to add to the stress after because they're all going to be very sad. It's going to be a very sad time. Well, some of them.
I got a daughter that says, oh, you don't have to worry. I'll know when to pull the plug. She's in charge of that deal. I mean, she's second in command of, no more experimental this. I'm not trying to do
You're
that.
You're not going Ted Williams?
No,
Is that official?
No, head's not going in jars. We're not stuffing me into a little jar. None of that. When the time comes, the time comes.
Numbers up, numbers up.
Number is up. That's why, when you think of people not going in, when they go in separate planes and all that. I mean, there is a ticket that you have. The day you were born, your ticket had already been punched for when you're out. I believe that. Your day, you're not escaping that, whether it's in a car, whether I'm falling down off the back of a truck. There's already been a plan for when I'm going. And I'm not changing that date. I can't get out of that date. You know what I'm saying, E? I still believe that's the way it is. Yeah. And whether I go, in there with my entire family in a plane, or if I'm solo going down I-35, there's a time. Now, I don't want to rush it by doing something stupid. Like you're just saying with
but
these
under
kids.
Your theory, it doesn't matter. It's already
That's
picked.
true. It's already that's right. That decision's already been made.
Belief. There's nothing you can do to change it.
No.
Like I could walk out in front of a bus right now and be gone, but you would say that was already predetermined.
I mean, Ty could have been in his car when the branch fell in, and it could have just decapitated his head.
Yes.
I mean, he could have been, yeah.
His house when the tree fell on him.
Oh, yeah,
Ty's having a rough run here.
Could have gone through his bedroom.
Ty's having a rough run. Hey, Bucky, can you just leave me your garden tools, please?
I got a lot of tools. My wife would say, come and get them now. I mean, how many shovels does one person need? I need a new shovel like every 6 months. I can't do the same shovel. There's something about shovels and picks and things like that. I can't have rusty, and I'm the guy who may leave it out in the rain, but I got to have like numerous picks. I got to have like 3 picks.
You know, it's used from a good hoe. You know what I'm saying?
Always.
Good hoe. This is, I just tuned in. I'm very confused, fellas. Well, Bucky filled out his will, and you went to the, you got the brass tacks with your will yesterday.
Yes.
Who's doing what? You're doing fine.
I'm fine.
You and your wife just set it up. That's what we all should do.
Dude, I'm in my 60s. I mean,
I'm 50 now. It needs to be done, right?
Yes, it does.
It needs to be done. Hey, so this says, what are you leaving Trey Elling? That's
paper route. My paper bag.
Volleyballs.
Remember we had the little sacks when we carried papers, E? You had that sack around
I didn't carry
shoulder?
them. I had them on a bike.
Or did you have a little rack
I never had like a
bike?
carry package.
Oh, I did the carry pack. That was great. Ty, you've never, ever had to do newspapers. It was the most hateful job in the world. Door to door.
Hateful? I liked it.
I had a little.
I didn't go door. Well, I had to go collect sometimes.
You had to go collect.
I was in between when I was doing my paper out in the '80s. It was in between when you could start paying
with a card.
Well, no check, but it would come. Bill would come in the mail. But there were a few holdouts where I had to go and collect from them directly.
So when you have a paper route, is that like an independent? Like, do you go buy the newspapers and
they would deliver? The distributor would deliver the newspapers to my house, and then I would deliver them to the houses.
Yeah, you got to collect the money for the distributor.
For some. Now, when Bucky was doing it, you had to collect from everybody.
You had to go from door to door with your little booklet and write down this.
As a kid?
Yes. You had to do that. Yeah. You know how I got out? You know how I quit my paper route. I couldn't take it anymore. It was like 12 degrees. The wind was blowing. Sunday paper.
No, it was every day. Every day.
Oh, I picked that Sunday paper, and I had 2 satchels, one on one side, like the mail carrier. And I had to go door to door, drop them there. You know, some person wanted theirs in a particular place, put it inside the milk thing because they used to deliver milk. Back in my day, they had to, you didn't go to the store.
Old.
Yeah, they had a milk deliverer.
Yeah, well, I
chocolate
was on a
milk
bicycle.
was in those days. Chocolate milk.
Well, my first newspaper job, how about this? When I'm like 11 or 12 years old, this is a true story. My dad worked for the Houston Chronicle, and so we would go. He would, they would
big ass thick Houston Chronicle.
Yeah, and that was fun to deliver on Sundays. Trust me, because you had to wrap it first, and it comes in like 3 sections, and
put that rubber band around that baby.
Bags.
Oh, you had to bag
Sunday paper. You had to bag it. You couldn't rubber band the Sunday paper. You could like the Monday paper. You could put that in a band. But the so where we used to play high school football at the football stadium was also during the week was a park and ride. People would park there and get on the bus. And so my dad would drop me off there, and I'd have this bundle of papers, and I'd be selling newspapers to people getting on the bus. It would be pitch dark outside. And then my mom would come pick me up when the bus routes were done, and I would make money. And I'm like, Dad, you're putting your son out there? You couldn't put like a one of the machines where he just gets your token? No. They wanted a real person.
I used to throw those papers up papers up on the porch, like from the street.
Yeah. Hey, let's get to the headlines. People need to know the news of the morning, including the latest on Gary Patterson. Let's hit it. Top Gun Equipment Rentals bring you the news, and we do start with those Longhorns. According to a report late yesterday at Horns 24/7 Sports, Texas Special Assistant Gary Patterson is going to step away from the role that he has had for the last year as the special assistant to Steve Sarkisian. Wants to spend more time in Fort Worth with his family and possibly help college football in a bigger way. Of course, after their 21 seasons as head coach at TCU, the 63-year-old joined the staff for last year. Says he enjoyed every aspect of it, but says, quote, right now, I feel like I need to take some time for my wife, kids, and grandkids while also looking to see if I can help college football on a larger scale. Elsewhere in football, on-field drills for potential draftees began yesterday in Indianapolis. Defensive linemen and linebackers on doing their work. It included 3 former Longhorns. How about Moro Ojimo? Showed off long arms and excellent agility, quickness at 296. Keandre Coburn measured in at 6'2 and 332. And DeMarvion Overshown may have helped himself the most. He posted a 4.56 40 at 230 pounds and 6'3". Also had a 10.4 broad jump. Former Longhorn running back Bijan Robinson and Roshan Johnson will compete with the running back prospects on Sunday. Busy weekend on tap on the 40 acres as usual. Texas baseball opened that 3-game weekend series at Cal State Fullerton tonight in Southern California. And it'll be 8 o'clock tonight for game 1. Right here on the Horn, 7 o'clock Saturday night, and then Sunday at 2 o'clock. Those are your 3 start times here on the Horn. Texas softball will be hosting that Texas Invitational at McCombs Field all weekend. 9th-ranked Texas men's basketball looking to snap a 2-game losing skid. They're going to host 3rd-ranked Kansas tomorrow at the Moody Center. It's senior day. Final regular season home game for the Longhorns. Game tips at 3, 2:30 pregame. Texas women will look to clinch at least a share of the regular season championship as well in the Big 12. They're going to face Kansas State tomorrow afternoon in Manhattan against Kansas State. That's a 4 o'clock tip. College hoops last night. Big win for Texas State. The Sun Belt tournament, their season will be over if they lose. They didn't, though. They beat Old Dominion and is the 6th seed last night. They're going to now play third-seeded Marshall Saturday afternoon. In college hoops last night, how about Houston? Number 1 team in the country, easy victory. 4th-ranked UCLA posted a win over Arizona State, and 5th-ranked Purdue survived Wisconsin. And how about Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic? They combined for 82 points last night as the Mavericks beat Philadelphia 110-106. Spurs have won 2 in a row. They beat Indiana 110-99.
I'm so happy for Gary Patterson. I hope he gets to go spend more time with his family and Kelsey. She is one of the more kinder people I've ever met in my life. His wife, Gary Patterson's wife, she is fantastic. She's a fantastic person. You know, I met her when she was a college student at University of Texas, and I've never met a kinder person. She was fabulous. He's very, very fortunate. And at 63, it may be time to go spend, Well,
we mentioned he didn't take much time between TCU and taking his role, and his family still lives in Fort Worth. So you can understand that. Same time, he put in a year, and the quotes are pretty what you would expect. I mean, there's been no. You kind of felt like there was whispers behind the scene that this was going to be it for Gary Patterson. He would get through because one of his more prominent roles since he's been there was running these winter workouts, right, in the mornings, up early. In the weight room, kind of pushing the players, and he talked about how he loved doing that, getting reconnected with young people and coaching them. But he talked to Chip Brown, Horns 24/7. Props to Chip for getting the scoop. But he said, "I'm so appreciative of Steve Sarkisian, the players and fans for my time at Texas this past year. I loved my time in Austin. I jumped into that role right after leaving TCU, and I put off a lot of stuff foundation-wise because I wanted to be a sponge. I wanted to see how coaches on the staff here at Texas who have been in other places like Alabama and Washington recruit, how they handle practice, how they handle things like NIL. I learned so much and have so respect for those guys." He also said, who knows, maybe we'll get to August and I want to come back if Sark will have me. But right now I feel like I need to take some time for my wife, kids, and grandkids. And interesting finish to this statement saying, also looking to see if I can help college football on a larger scale. Which, does that mean getting back into coaching? Does that mean doing some television, getting involved in maybe the politics of college football where it stands right now, maybe some leadership that is needed. But Gary Patterson stepping aside right ahead of spring practice.
By the way, no dibs on the truck. My son AJ gets the truck.
Oh, Doo-Doo Brown truck?
Doo-Doo Brown.
That's going to AJ?
Yeah, that's part of the deal. He gets the Doo-Doo Brown, but unless my wife, who was trying to get me to get rid of that truck since I've met her, what do you want with that old-ass truck? Well, what do you do with an old ass truck? Everything I'm doing right now.
I would say that your truck has value because it's a throwback. It's a throwback
12-foot
to
long bed.
They don't make trucks like that anymore.
No.
This is Texas. They sell a lot of trucks, let's be honest. But, some of these trucks people buy now that my buddies have, you can't even fit anything in the back. Like in the bed, because of the wheel wells and how, because they got the extended cab.
Dude, I don't worry about the bed of the truck, just stones.
Your truck bed is the longest truck bed I've ever seen. How long is that thing?
I think it's almost 12.
It is huge. I borrowed it one time when we were moving, and I was taking stuff to the Goodwill and to the dump. And man, that thing fit a lot of things in there.
Well, the lining I don't worry about. It's all metal, like real steel.
Oh, it's making like
the
an old brown truck.
Union steel.
It's just like an old mule, man. You're not going to get rid of a good worker like a mule like that. Got to have that thing. Hard to find. But, yeah, your son's going to get that. All right, let's get into this grade card. For the first time, the NFLPA, the NFL Players Association, has taken a vote of all of the league's players to find out what they think of, you know how your facility is, but you don't know that your facility is how it is compared to others unless you move teams and bounce around, right? And this is really interesting. The NFLPA has put out its first grade card. You Cowboys fans will be happy to know that the Dallas Cowboys rank among the top facilities, organizations, the way they take care of their players. The treatment of families was an A+, which was first for the Cowboys. Cowboys food service and nutrition was an A. Weight room, A+. Strength staff, A+. Training room, B. Training staff, A-. A locker room got an A+. And then the only thing that was a little bit of a tick, I don't know why, team travel. Team travel was a C.
Well, they got their bus. They got other people they got to take care of first.
With the Star Bus?
The Star Bus. I mean, they're always headed out to California.
Well, maybe that's part of it. They train in California. I'm assuming that's travel, like team plane and that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's a long way between Arlington and Star Complex, and maybe that comes into it. But
sure.
But C- is what they got there. But by the way, this poll that was taken was over a 2-year process for the NFLPA, and this is the first time they've ever put this out. So this is calling some owners in on the carpet. The Cowboys got a C- because players, 78% of players feel like they have enough room to spread out. No roommates on the road. One of 7 teams does not offer first-class seats to their players. No first-class seats.
There you go.
So that was the issue.
What about Danny Snyder?
Last.
Come on now.
Dead ass last.
Dead ass? Really?
Yeah. That's 100% true.
You wonder why they want that dude out?
Yeah, and dead ass last, the Washington Commanders, and you would think as an NFL team, I would think if you own an NFL football team, you're a billionaire. If you're a billionaire and you're investing in these players, you're going to move heaven and earth to make sure that they're taken care of.
You're going to move heaven and earth to make sure you're not dead ass last.
Yeah, Daniel Snyder, this is pretty unreal here, but I got to find the actual grade card that they had because it's bad. Jacksonville Jaguars apparently have a rat problem. That's not good. Inspectors found 159 incidents of rat droppings and rats at the stadium in which they play in. That's not a good deal. How about the Arizona Cardinals? The Bidwell family, notorious cheapskates. Like every other team, the Cardinals will let you take food home from their practice facility, but unlike other teams, Cardinals charge their players to take the food home. So you got to pay for the food.
All right, you got the money, pay for it.
Well, not every club does that. Cincinnati Bengals apparently need to fix their plumbing. The Bengals, and by the way,
that problem.
Bengals were just in the Super Bowl, and they were almost in the Super Bowl again this year with Joe Burrow. But the Brown family, Mike Brown,
they've been notorious. I mean,
notoriously cheap.
Yes.
Notoriously cheap. And remember when they were featured on Hard Knocks, they were shown to be cheap. They ranked as the 6th worst team overall in the survey. They can't get simple things right. Plumbing not working. There's nowhere for players to charge their cell phones. It's just kind of a chinchy locker room. I mean, Longhorns, UT.
Still tough to believe. C- for Jerry Jones. Get up on Harry Hines with Jerry. He'll give you a ride.
Well, Jerry got A+ on everything else.
Oh, okay.
Cowboys are a top 5 organization, according to the players. The Washington Commanders, though. Players hate everything about playing for the Commanders. They finished dead last in the survey. Dan Snyder is such a cheapskate. They have no faith in Dan Snyder to upgrade the facility. They feel the training room is understaffed. Some players are forced to have a roommate at the team hotel the night before a game. They don't fly first class. Also noted that there's a lack of warm water, poor drainage in the showers. And it sounds like the Commanders and Bengals need to get a plumber together. The Colts got pretty good grades in Indianapolis, 16th overall, but the players didn't like the food. And so bad that players like Matt Ryan would bring their own food because the food was so bad. But how about this one? This one's interesting. The Baltimore Ravens, you would think great organization, or really good organization, right? Well, the Ravens players have voted that their strength coaches are the worst in the NFL. And you know all the injuries they've had in Baltimore in the last several years?
That make you think about it, right?
The players have voted the strength conditioning staff out of 32 teams 32nd. That they're not up to snuff.
Wouldn't that be telling you something there?
Players do not feel like the strength staff helps them to be more successful. Team recently parted ways with head strength coach Steve Saunders. So Ravens got pretty good grades across the board, but the strength and conditioning, not good. And the Chiefs, how about the Kansas City Chiefs? Just won the Super Bowl. Training staff ranked as the worst in the NFL. The Ravens were 31. The Chiefs were 32. Main issue with the training staff in Kansas City is they feel discouraged from reporting their injuries, do not feel they get the level of personal care that they should, and fear
get back out there and play. Let's go. You got to play.
And fear
retribution. We're winning Super Bowls.
Retribution for speaking up for better care. Despite all that, they won the Super Bowl, and they've been in 3 of the last 5.
That's right. So quit your whining and get back on that field.
Chargers and Texans are the only team without a sauna and a steam room.
They don't have a steamer there?
No steamer.
You know, I like a good steamer.
I've heard.
I
wouldn't know specifically, but I've heard that from you. But yes, I mean, some of these things just surprise you that what? You got to, this seems.
What about our guy who owns
it's the National Football League?
Home Depot. What about that group in Atlanta?
Atlanta did pretty good. Houston's fine. Houston takes care outside of the sauna and the steam room that they don't have. Everything else was pretty good. But, yeah, I mean, it's interesting. The first time they've ever put this out. But, of note, from the Players Association, some of this stuff is just, whining. But at the same time, if players are being discouraged from reporting injuries, we just had the tweet from the former Cowboy Byron Jones about don't take their needles, don't take their pills. He says he's 8 years after he started, he can't barely walk. That's a Players Association issue. I mean, if you're getting, knocks for you're not comfortable to report that something hurts, well, that's what the trainer's there for. If they feel like they can be honest, that's not good. That is not good. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty revealing when you get to the team report cards. Look down here, Buck. Washington Commanders, F, D+, C-, D, F, F.
Ooh.
Not good from the players. Only thing that they like in Washington was the strength staff. Everything else they hated, which is
interesting. How about them 49ers?
I got to get it by grade because now this is alphabetical. So we'll get into that. There you go. Cowboys, real good. Outside of the travel, we'll get you out to see. Texans among the best. Washington, Cincinnati, Arizona. These are all owners you would pick would be the worst.
So the Packers, their people own the team, right?
The people own the team. The Green Bay Packers.
The stockholders.
Stockholders. But yeah, I mean, it's some of it is really puzzling how an owner who's a billionaire. Wouldn't you? I mean, this is your biggest investment. What are your biggest? It's the players. Why would you be chinchy on any of that stuff? You're making a fortune. You know what these teams make on an annual basis? And we know that whatever profits are made, it's shared 50-50 players and owners. I mean, they're making so much money. It is a shame that some of these owners are that chinchy with the facilities.
And some would say, you get in there with when you
by the way,
overnight trips and staying without a roommate and stuff. I mean, some guys can't sleep. Some guys will keep a guy up all night long.
This says, who's number one? I didn't even mention that. The Minnesota Vikings. The
Thank
Minnesota
you very
Vikings,
much.
number
Yes.
one, according to the
Classy
players.
group.
And I will say, because this says first world problems, of course, these are NFL players. They make good salaries. They make good money. But listen, when free agency opens on March 15th, don't think players who are being courted by some of these lower-end teams that are getting bad grades are going to say, well, maybe not. I mean, I don't want to have to bring my own lunch.
I got to buy lunch?
That will play, especially if it's about training staffs and strength staffs.
Absolutely.
And discouraging
facilities.
facilities being chinchy, and that's not professional. And that could have an impact if you got 3 teams you're down to and the money is similar. That could help you make your decision. We'll be back.
I'll say this about the University of Texas: first class all the way. As a recruiter traveling, that's when John Malkovich was head coach. He wanted to know that I have his room in Miami at the hotel that I had his room. I said, no, you don't need a room. We have 2 beds. You're sleeping in the same room with me. What's wrong with that? Are you doing something that you need to hide out in a single room for yourself? I said, no, we got 2 beds. Not wasting any money. Not wasting university's money. I got to waste that money. Can't have you wasting that money.
I think you're right on that, but some would suggest that Overtime Texas maybe have been a little bit too spoiling of their players. The amenities too nice.
Oh, is that the cigar boat guy?
Yeah. Well, I'm talking about Texas, just the training room and the lockers and the new lockers. And yes, it's first class at the University of Texas, without a doubt. We'll be back. When we do, we've got more of that. We'll continue the grades. If you've got a question on your favorite team, combine performances, including one that really turned some heads yesterday. Craig Way has his report. We've got gossip in the Blitz. It's B&E on the Horn. Callahan's General Store. It's always a great day to make it a Callahan's, Jay. We absolutely love it. Listen, they're having a birthday coming up, at 45 years, since 1978, right here in Austin, Texas. And they believe in that they're the old adage, better with age. I like the older the violin, the sweeter the music. And they're still making sweet music 45 years later. But they're going to celebrate with you. They're going to be on March the 11th. That's a couple Saturdays from now. The Callahan's General Store is going to be celebrating their 45th anniversary, and they're going to do it with some live music. There's a great Austin fan band. The Jonathans will be playing on that day, March 11th. Also, throughout the store, they got discounted items on sale, as well as helpful hints for your next project or spring gardens. And it's really just featuring what Callahan's General Store has always been about, which is helping you with anything that you need, from the Western wear section for all your rodeo gear that you need, or out at the lease of the ranch. They've got the housewares and the hardwares, and, of course, the garden section and the garden warehouse in the back. And yesterday, my buddy Charlie Callahan sent me the video. Yesterday was Chicks Day. They get their new, they bring in on Thursdays the little baby chicks, and they usually sell out by Saturday. They're so popular because people want to have their own chicks in the backyard. That's what it's about at Callahan's. The people, the process, the items, the local feel that it has every single time since 1978. Right there at 501 Bastrop Highway, 183, between downtown and the airport, and still here after all these years, 45 of them at Callahan's General Store. Find them online at callahansgeneralstore.com, and it's always a good day to make it a Callahan day. Craig Way Report, salacious gossip, and the Blitz before the top of the hour on a Friday. Bring that strong. It's the last Blitz of the week into your weekend. So, is that the band you saw last night, Ty?
It is.
Good guess by me. Ty was at a rock concert last night, Buck, or a country concert. You were at the ACL Live downstairs, right?
Like the bar.
The theater below
downstairs.
ACL Live at the Moody Theater. You ever been there? That is called the, gosh, what's that called?
ACL 10 or something.
It's a great room. It's got great acoustics. They invested a lot of money into the sound system there. It's for smaller shows. You saw, what are they called?
A Boy Named Banjo.
A Boy Named Banjo out of Nashville, Tennessee. So Ty is running the show this morning. We're talking all things wills and testaments and NFL facilities that has graded by the players. Also, Combine. Bijan Robinson's been the talk of the Combine. We'll let you hear that sound again coming up of people gushing about what the former Longhorn running back can be at the next level. We'll do that coming up in the next hour. But also, Buck, the star of yesterday's Combine, I mentioned, I think DeMarvion Overshown helped himself in an era of positionless football at 230 pounds, so pretty big. 6'3", a full 6'3" measurement.
Full 6'3",
long
for sure,
arms,
yes.
The long arms, so the ranginess, and he ran 4.56 in the 40. Showed an explosion on the vertical jump, and those are the kind of things you want to back up the tape. He plays fast on tape, and DeMarvion's a striker. Agent Zero will strike you.
Yes, he will.
NFL likes that, so he's the guy. Moro Ojimo may have his best football to come. He just looks. There's not an ounce of fat on the guy. I mean, he's got long arms, almost 35 inches, long wingspan, quickness. And remember, Moro came to football late, and then he was a part of.
He's a real kid.
And then he was so advanced academically. When you saw him, when Lake Travis played Katy, he's only 16 years old as a senior, so he's very young. And got better at Texas as it went.
His motor got better. And
then Keandre Coburn, I mean, he's gonna have a role in the NFL, which is just plug the lane.
Yeah.
I mean, first rundowns. Keandre Coburn, but the highest rated prospect for the Longhorns is Bijan. We'll get into him coming up. But the guy who blew it up yesterday was the Georgia edge rusher Nolan Smith, who, gosh, what a show he put on. 6'2", 240, ran 4.39, faster than Saquon Barkley in his 40 time. If that does anything for you. The pass rusher, the kid at Abore from Northwestern. How about this number? 282, 6'2", 280. Ran 4.49. 4.49 at 280 pounds off that Pat Fitzgerald team. Pat Fitzgerald does a great job of, he doesn't get like the numbers of Georgia, blue chippers, but he seems to develop a first-round pick every year.
Yes, he does. Whether it's offensive line, defensive back, now defensive line. Wow.
Yeah, this is a pass rusher. And at 4.49, he also had a great vertical showing explosion. You want to see that get off, that quick twitch. The Northwestern defensive end helped himself yesterday.
Dude, you got to play school there.
Well, Nolan Smith, because I'm seeing Nolan Smith. Remember, he got hurt last year. He was injured. And he was the number one player out of high school. And Georgia, everybody's talking about Jalen Carter. They won the national championship again. But Nolan Smith is a guy who was, he's seen as the back end of the first round. Which, gosh, if the Cowboys are sitting at 26 and Nolan Smith sitting there, I know maybe, edge rusher, probably not a need for them. But this guy is a really, really talented player, explosion player that may have helped himself a lot yesterday because Will Anderson is seen as the top pass rusher. Nolan Smith helped
Cowboys
himself.
Need to look for somebody inside just in case there one guy has decided no.
Well, I think biggest Cowboy needs are defensive interior, corner, and tight end, personally. I mean, depending on how they handle the running back or wide receiver. I mean, if you're looking at most glaring needs for the Cowboys, I think corner is big because they're going to lose Anthony Brown likely in free agency. And who's the other one, Ty? The other corner? Jordan Lewis probably going to move on in free agency. And
Van Der Esch going to move away then?
That's the thing. I mean, the Cowboys draft board will be built, but then the need will know after free agency comes and goes who they're able to retain.
How do you think Van Der Esch just wants to be a Cowboy? He'll settle for a decent deal, nothing. Doesn't have to be a blockbuster.
I think they'll get him on a 2 or 3 year discounted deal just to stay in Dallas.
Well, that's the fan speaking, but Leighton Van Der Esch won't hit the open market again. I mean, again, he's coming off.
No. This is it.
And he's coming off a really good year.
They do have 2 young linebackers in Jabril Cox and Damone Clark. That Damone Clark showed a little bit of promise last year, coming off that like spinal cord injury at LSU the year before. So Maybe if he's ready.
I think they drafted him a year in advance. I think I like the Damone Clark pick too, if he can be healthy with his neck. But I'd say this about Leighton Vander Esch. I mean, he was a first-round pick, but he's at the end of that deal. And as a linebacker, with the numbers and the things he did last year, you just know this league. When you get to free agency and there are 32 teams who have an option,
and you got that chance,
and there's different levels of cap space, somebody will overpay him just because of he's a veteran, he's a proven commodity who you've seen on tape. You know what he can do. He can help.
You see when he's not in there, there's a little difference in that defense.
And that's why I would say if I'm Leighton Vander Esch's agent, I would say don't listen to Ty. We're not taking a hometown discount. We're getting what we can get here.
We don't care about that star. We need some money.
We need some cash. This is probably your last big opportunity to do that. Can I give you a piece of advice before we get to the timeout? Because we were talking about Gary Patterson's decision to step aside and get back to Fort Worth and be with his family and run his foundation and maybe do bigger picture things. He told a story to Chip Brown at Horns 24/7. He related from, and you were talking about signing your last will and testament and those kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
He said he was talking with R.C. Slocum, great Texas A&M coach back in the day.
Loved that guy.
And Patterson said, of course, we know that R.C. has successfully battled Hodgkin's disease, right? Has been battling cancer. And he said R.C. recently told him, he said he compared it to a roll of 100 pennies. He said, R.C. said, we're lucky. He said, Gary, we're lucky if we get 80 good years. So he broke open a roll of 100 pennies and then took away the pennies until there were 17 left because he's 63. And said, he looked at me and said, we got to make sure we're spending our pennies wisely. So the way I look at it, I just spent my 18th penny here in Austin, and hopefully I have 17 to go.
Yeah. Pretty good way to look at it.
So make the most of your remaining pennies. So we'll see. You are of the opinion he won't get back into head coaching in a program. I still think he'd be open to it if the right job came along. Because he also talked to Chip about sponging and learning, because he knows how he's done it, and he knows how they did it at TCU for 21 years. But he said one of the reasons he took this was to learn, how Sark connects and operates, how, Pete Kwiatkowski coming in from Washington, how his methods are. What about Bo Davis? What about, these Alabama coaches who have been with Nick Saban? And then what can he adopt from that? You wonder, that's either going to be for a TV role of some kind or, maybe he does get back into running his right. I do think for Gary it'd have to be the exact right program. It'd have to be the right fit at the right place. I don't think he's out there, actively searching. But, man, 63 years old, I think Gary could still lead a program.
Well, yeah. I mean, that takes an awful lot of energy to do that. As I said, when he started talking about your grandkids, Tim, I was thinking just kids for Gary. No, his grandkids. He's 63.
Well, you got 7 of those too, my friend.
Yeah, I do.
Hey, load up a Friday Blitz. We'll hit it. We'll hear the NFL's opinion, some of the top experts on Bijan Robinson and what type of where he's going to go in the draft and what type of impact he can have on whichever team drafts him. Also, Nick Saban. Dare I say, is Nick Saban whining? Is Nick Saban whining?
Got to have that.
We'll report. You decide. It's B&E on the Horn. Load up the Blitz. Salacious Gossip was brought to you by Bud Light. Those frosty, cold Bud Lights will be plentiful out at the Rodeo Austin Barbecue Cook-Off this weekend, maybe at the Moody Center when you're watching the Longhorn basketball team on Senior Day tomorrow. Whatever you're doing, the weather's going to be fantastic. So do it with a nice cold Bud Light, the official domestic beer partner of the Texas Longhorns, Texas X's, and the Texas OU game. Do you see who's hosting Saturday Night Live this weekend, Buck?
The Kelsey brothers are just, which one?
Travis Kelce.
Travis? Oh, he's funny.
Travis
He'd be funny.
Kelce. He'll be very funny, I would imagine. And then you can probably expect to see his brother Jason show up, right?
Yeah, I would think so. Or his mom.
We'll have to grade him next week in relation to the, Peyton Manning who has hosted it, and who else? LeBron. Did LeBron do it? Didn't he do it one time?
Mm-hmm.
Did he? No.
I think he did.
LeBron's not funny. Come on.
Charles Barkley.
Peyton Manning.
Peyton Manning thing. Peyton Manning was hilarious when
Eli
he did
Manning.
it. By the way, I know Arch Manning is here and he'll be a part of spring workouts for the Longhorns, but this Manning thing, they're everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Every time you look up, they're on a commercial. There's Arch, there's Eli, there's Peyton.
They're building their foundation, their corporation, believe me.
Oh, my gosh. They are everywhere, it appears.
Where's Hoda been?
Huda?
Hoda
Codby?
Yeah.
What is that relation to?
She's been absent for a while.
What does that have to do with the Mannings?
Well, I mean, we're talking celebs.
Oh, you don't know where Hoda Codby is?
Where's she been?
I didn't know she was missing.
She's been missing. What's going on?
I thought we were talking about.
She okay?
I don't know.
I thought you kept up with the girls. I mean,
I don't keep up with. We're on the air when Hoda's on.
Oh, okay. You'd know if Oprah wasn't around. You'd know
Oprah's
that.
not been around. She's been gone a long time. The 58-year-old has not taped a live installment since the 17th. She was simply out. She's simply out.
Oh, take a little time away.
Oprah doesn't do her show anymore?
She's got her own network, dude.
So she doesn't do
Oprah Winfrey Network.
She doesn't do shows.
There's no Oprah Winfrey show, though?
No.
No, she gave that up. Ellen took that role, essentially. Now
He
it's
was
Kelly
her
Clarkson.
number one fan.
I used to be a stay-at-home dad in the afternoons, and I had nothing to watch, so I'd watch Oprah. And she taught me a lot.
He was a part of the Book of the Month club. I mean, everything.
Book of the Month.
Hell yeah.
She'd give out all the prize. Dr. Oz, Dr. Phil. I was ahead of the curve on those two dudes.
He was ahead of the curve on Dr. Phil. I'm like, who's this guy? Who's this bald-head guy you keep talking about, Dr. Phil?
She had the gay dude that was the interior designer that now has like all his shows on the Home and Garden Network or whatever.
No.
Yeah. Oh, man. He's done well thanks to Oprah. Oprah, whatever. If Oprah endorsed you, you were golden. Gail, her friend Gail, she's now got a big TV gig. She was doing nothing.
Her friend, Gail.
Her friend.
Yeah.
Her friend Gail.
Yeah, but what about her guy? He's got
Who's-
nothing going on.
Steadman?
Steadman.
We call him Studman.
He's got that house out back.
Yeah. Oprah keeps him around.
Just don't mess around. Just don't mess it up, Steadman.
Steadman. Speaking of Hollywood celebs, turns out Matthew McConaughey and his wife Camilla were on that plane from Austin to Germany that had to land in Washington, D.C. because of really bad turbulence. A 4,000-foot drop at one point. Minister of Culture was on that plane. That is scary. I don't
I'll
want any
still
part of
fly
that deal.
before I drive.
Well, you drive every day.
Yeah, but I would definitely, long trip, I would fly.
Me too. I'm not afraid to fly. I mean, if it ends that way, it ends that way.
There you go.
I don't want it to, but I'll take my chances. I feel safer on a plane than I do on I-35 most mornings. It's absolutely the fact of the case. Hey, so how about this? New York Times poll asked the following question. If you could, if money wasn't a factor, what would be your top dream city to move to? L.A. number 1, Atlanta number 2, Austin, Texas number 3.
L.A., Atlanta, and then Austin. It'd be
In the
Austin
United
and
States,
San Diego for me.
Austin and San Diego. And
San Diego.
Hey, also good to know that Austin is the fastest growing city, according to this survey. Fastest growing city for millionaires. Awesome.
Let's join them.
It says here, this guy on the text line says, Hoda Codby has a sick family member.
Oh, I
There
see.
you go.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Take care of the family.
I had not noticed Hoda was out. We also told you that Mr. Murdoch, found guilty yesterday on all counts.
Sentenced today?
Sentencing should be happening right now, as a matter of fact, in the South Carolina courtroom where he was found guilty of killing his wife and son. That is if you watch those Netflix documentaries on that whole thing and that family, that is generational corruption. And I hope, because he's going to appeal that, And I hope that guy does a lot of time in jail. A lot of time in jail.
Is he an old? He's not that old, is he?
No, but he is that family is generationally corrupt for 100 years, running that little town there in South Carolina. All right, let's hit the blitz. They're loaded and ready to go on a Friday, as asked for.
Here we go. First blitzer, you're up.
I heard the real reason Gary Patterson decided to take a step back from coaching is he hopes to headline Coke Fest. That's why he said he'd be available in August.
Ah, very smart on his part. Good job. Next blitzer, you're up.
Hey, this is Biff from Back to the Future. You may want to mark the tape because I'm going to let you know where each of your Longhorns are getting drafted. Bijan to the Eagles, Roshan to the Cardinals, Demo to the Seahawks. We're going to go Coburn to the Dolphins and Ojimo to the Bears.
Thank you, Biff.
Mark the tape.
Mark the tape. Thank
I
you.
like those.
Thank you very much there, Biff. Next blitzer, you're up.
Hey, Buck, it's OU Mark. Me and little Kev want some of that wheel action you got. Come on, man.
No, man. I should leave my
Leave him
brown.
your poop scooper that you hit yourself in the head with.
Oh, stuck right in my forehead. Next blitzer, talk to us.
Hey, Buck.
Yes, sir.
When you were talking about Kelsey Patterson as a student at UT, sounded like she might have been down with the Browns.
Oh, come on, man.
You guys are so off today.
Next blitzer, you're up.
Straight from the Digger files. I heard at the NFL Combine, if you get someone from immigration, you put Tabo on the 40, he runs the fastest out of all the players.
Come on. Where's my man Tabo? Next blitzer, you're up.
Yeah, Bucky, I spotted Hoda at Mardi Gras. Yes, nice little caboose with any lines. Oh, my goodness. She looked great.
Hoda! Next blitzer, you're up.
Coach.
Yes, sir.
Is it true that Tavo, San Diego Toolbag, and Sunset Guy are living in the back of Buck's yard?
Come on, man.
In a tent.
Oh, man. Next blitzer, you're up.
Yeah, you know what my favorite game is? It's charades.
Charades.
Charades. I used to like charades. Always a good one. Were you ever any good at that?
No. That was sort of like I was as good at charades as I was Pictionary.
You would just draw boobs.
All the time. Stick person with boobs. Male or female. I mean gigantic boobs.
Is that a boat?
Can't help myself.
Can't help myself.
I can't.
I'm not a very good drawer either.
We need to have a draw. We need to put up some pictures where we draw stuff and put them up in here.
No, I'm not. That's not my.
We got.
If I have a forte, that is not it.
Is that like one of the last on the list for you? An artist, like writing. My handwriting.
I think I'm a decent writer. I'm a pretty good writer. I'm not a good, but my penmanship's poor, and my handwriting and my drawing skills
You
are
hear
not
Ty?
good.
Ty said he can paint.
Well, Ty's a very artsy. Remember, he was in the Glee
Oh,
Club
that's
choir.
right, Glee Club. That's right, all state.
They
That's
teach
right.
you the arts.
Oh, when you go to so many,
nation.
number one in the nation.
You can paint, huh?
Yeah, I painted before.
Wow. See, when you attend so many universities, E, that's how you get those things happen for you.
Get that well-rounded education. We'll be back. We will pick up these conversations. And is Nick Saban whining will be a question. Where Bijan Robinson may land. And the prediction guy, Biff, just said Philadelphia. We've got a prominent national draft advisor who also thinks that it would be a good idea for the Eagles to draft the former Longhorn. Details coming here on B&E. Somebody on the Specs text line, and we always appreciate your contributions there at 337-3776. Also, the Blitz strong today. He said, don't forget, for the Murdochs, don't forget about the housekeeper and the young gay guy. Yeah, they're generational corruption. In the low country of South Carolina. Is that what they call it? The low country?
Yeah.
Not good, but let's hope he goes to jail for a long, long time. That came down late yesterday. Also, the report that, and I guess the official decision now that Gary Patterson is stepping away right as winter workouts wrap up and spring football opens. Gary Patterson going to head back to Fort Worth and finish up his time with Texas football as a special assistant to Steve Sarkisian. Be interested to hear Sark next week when he's available to talk spring practice. When asked about it, is there a plan to fill that role? I mean, will you be seeking another special advisor? Because Sark talked glowingly about the input and the addition that Gary made to the staff. You wonder, we hear why Gary's leaving, but is that something that Sark would like to fill those shoes with another veteran coach from somewhere?
Another pair of eyes never hurts.
Certainly, with all that experience, and
yep.
You're still applying for the dumbass coach role to
always
help with
always.
Hey, coach, it's a close game against TCU, and Bijan has like 10 carries.
And by the way, you still got 2 timeouts. You can actually use those on defense to stop them from rallying.
Bijan has like 10 carries.
That's all? 10? You sure?
Well, they can't. They're stopping our run. Well, let's throw it to him.
Yeah. You know what? Ricky only needs 10 yards.
Exactly. The
for
dumbass
1,000 yards.
Coach. But we could throw it to Bijan, too, keep in mind. We could throw it to Bijan,
oh,
Coach.
Oh, that's right.
Like if we put
him out. We
don't
just have to give it to him?
We don't just have to hand it to him. I mean, if they're doing a good job and our offensive line's having a rough night, okay, let's throw it to him because he's pretty good. And we need to make him be impactful on this football game. But either way, Coach Sark, a lot of optimism, a lot of competition. That's the number one word I would put on this spring practice that begins on Monday, Buck, is competitive. This is the first time in a decade plus for me and us going into this spring where there's real competition for jobs. There's dudes who started last year who may not start this year because there's young guys coming. They jumped into the transfer portal to get guys. And that's what I'll give Sark full credit for. I mean, the overall record is not where it needs to be yet by any stretch. But at the same time, the acquisition of talent and the roster building has been A+ because they have added in a short amount of time a lot of talented players that now you have to coach them up and get them to perform at a high level. But,
yes,
I mean, you talk to any competitor, the number one thing that forces you to compete even harder is another competitor that might be as good as you or better. And that drives you. That hasn't been the case. I mean, there have been a lot of years going into the summer or the spring and even into the season where Texas is one deep at a position, right? The guy that's starting knows the guy behind him can't beat him out no matter what happens, right? He's not any good. This group at really every position, you got to go earn that spot. And unlike the previous coach and Tom Herman who liked to rotate players, Steve Sarkisian is a believer in, hey, once you earn that number one spot, that's your spot. And you're going to stay on the field barring injury. Right, and you're going to be out there. So it's something you hear Rod Babers talk about a lot. When he was playing at Texas, when that was kind of talented like this, Rod would tell you, man, if I earn the number one spot at a corner, that's my spot. And you have to, I'm not coming off the field. I'm playing there, and I think that's something this program needs desperately is that kind of competition to where a Jalen Catalon coming in from Arkansas, Buck. He's coming in.
Oh, yeah, he's coming in for a position.
Yeah, but there are young guys who played a lot of football last year. They're going to say, you know what, I'm going to beat that guy out.
Okay.
The kid from Wake Forest, who just because he started at Wake Forest doesn't mean there are young corners here that want to beat him out. I think that is exactly what they need across the board, and I think we're getting there. Arch Manning's coming in to try to push Quinn Ewers.
Absolutely. They need to get that passing game together. That thing needs to be on par with the best in the nation. They have enough players now. That stuff needs to be on QE. That you can't go into this coming up year with the passing game the way it was last year.
Yeah, it was.
You just can't. That was terrible.
It's hit and miss. It was hit and miss.
Yeah,
and I think there's a lot of reasons. A young quarterback learning a system and trying to learn the speed of a Big 12 football and college football at a high level.
As head coach, this is supposed to be his expertise. This needs to be fixed.
Correct. Well, and he, to his credit on his resume, his resume would tell you he's been an expert in the field of offense, points, passing offense. And so, yeah, that's the hope. With these players in a full offseason, with Quinn Ewers, with Arch Manning and Malik Murphy pushing him, got his hair cut, maybe grown up a little bit, understanding he's got to earn the spot and earn his teammates' trust and not be, just a be
guy throwing them bombs.
Yeah, throwing them bombs. He's got to be the leader of this team. He's got to be the guy that's holding himself to that standard, which will hold everybody to it. But yeah, that's gonna be fun. Fun spring. 6 weeks of spring practice. We'll cover it for you. All the availabilities and all the conversations and Sark all the way. But no Gary Patterson, it doesn't appear, as they move forward. This says life in prison just came down for your boy. Yeah, so Mr. Murdoch just got life in prison. I think that's the extent of what they could charge him with or sentence him to.
Mm-hmm.
Not a death penalty.
No parole, just life in prison.
Well, because he got convicted of, found guilty of 2 counts of murder of his son and his wife, and then several gun charges. But yeah, I mean, there'll be an appeal. It's a rich family. They've got a lot of money. And when I say generational corruption, like
2 consecutive life sentences
in that county. Instead of someone called the district attorney, they call it the solicitor general, essentially in charge of law enforcement. And that family, from the guy who was just convicted, his father, his grandfather, they have held that seat. And so they've run the county and overlooked. I mean, their family's gotten away with a lot of things because of it. That they're the scales of justice.
That kind of stuff happens.
Oh, it happens.
Come on now.
Oh, it happens. And in this case, it appears that he was. I mean, the kid had been in a boating accident that killed a young lady, and he was driving the boat, and they were trying to cover that crime up. A young lady drowned, and he was drunk and wrecked the boat. Originally, the family tried to make it seem like one of his buddies was driving the boat, which he was not. They proved that pretty quickly. The son was just a problem. And then the wife apparently had filed, the wife who he was gunned down had hired a forensic accountant to look into the books because she was about to file for divorce and she wanted to make sure she had
it all goes to the books, doesn't it?
And apparently the books were not good for Mr. Murdoch. He was funneling a lot of money from his law firm, and
he's a longtime lawyer too, right?
Well, yeah. The family. I mean, the family of lawyers who run the county and run the city there, Beaufort, South Carolina, is where that's at. And so apparently the son had become a problem because he was about to go to jail for this boating accident that killed a young lady, and then it looks like the wife was looking into the intimate details of his books.
Checking the books out, Ty.
And apparently she took an AR-15 to the back because she was running. But good luck in prison, Mr. Murdoch, if you ever get there. Let's hope the appeal process doesn't take too long. Let's hear from some of the league's heavyweights here. As we talked about earlier, the Combine's been going on since Tuesday, and really among the top stories, the Jalen Carter story immediately became a huge one, rightfully so, right on D-line day. Also, the quarterbacks, that's going to be a big story. We played some of the Bears have the number 1 pick and the teams that maybe want to come up and get that pick. And then there's Bijan Robinson. I really think Bijan Robinson has become he's on the tip of everybody's tongue. Everyone wants to talk about Bijan, not just in Austin, but around the country. So for example of that, let's hear some of this sound from Indianapolis. I mentioned we played the Will Anderson cut yesterday where he was asked who was the toughest player you faced. And we know the highlight reel for Bijan Buck, but when Will Anderson says, I don't know, Bijan Robinson, the running back from Texas, he was the toughest guy we had to play. As far
he's seen a few.
And yeah, he's seen some great talent in the SEC and at Alabama. And over 3 years, he says Bijan was the toughest to bring down and physical runner, had to be on your mark. But then there's this one. So Pat McAfee, he has a podcast or a show, and he had Daniels Jeremiah move the sticks at Twitter, but he's also NFL Network's lead draft analyst. And listen to this conversation between Daniel Jeremiah and Pat McAfee surrounding Bijan, and it echoes a lot of the things we've said about Bijan and why Cowboy fans and all the NFL should be fearful of the Philadelphia Eagles with the 10th pick. Here's Daniel Jeremiah talking to Pat McAfee earlier this week.
Bijan Robinson's number 4.
Oh, wow. There's something going on with him right now. What happened? There's a lot of headlines.
Well, everybody's just like, when do you take the running back? He's a freak show. He's an absolute freak show. He's as good as any of those top guys we've seen go up there. And everybody says, the value of the running back. I can make a strong case for one team that I think should take him. They'll never do it because they don't do it. But the Philadelphia Eagles, because they have the Saints pick, they're picking 10. normally my philosophy on running backs, I'm not against taking them in the first round, but don't waste their carries. Like, they only have so many carries in their body, right? If you look at it, 4 or 5 years, 6 years of elite carries.
He's had work.
Why are you going to waste those on a bad team? So if you're picking up there in the top 10, you're usually a bad team. You're going to waste this guy's prime. You're not even any good. I like the idea of having a really good team, and then you drop the running back in there, and then all of his carries matter. The Eagles are right there. They're picking 10. Every time this guy touches the ball matters for the next 4 years, right?
How about Pacheco coming
in? Yeah, he goes into Pacheco. But I agree with Daniel Jeremiah on everything he just said. Now, he said they won't do it because they never do it. But
which means never say never.
Even the Eagles. So I said if the Eagles have 10 and give Howie Roseman, they just won we're in the Super Bowl.
Made the bet one of the best picks in football last year.
Man,
trades. Yeah.
Well, think about what he did on draft night. And he's, every general manager has hits and misses, but Howie Roseman has, they've been in 2 Super Bowls now, almost won this one, if not for the brilliance of Patrick Mahomes. And on draft night, they traded their own pick to acquire A.J. Brown, right? They sent that pick to Tennessee to acquire maybe the single biggest difference-making player for any team in the NFL last year when A.J. Brown joined the Eagles. And then later in the draft, and I was there live in Vegas watching it all happen, when the New Orleans Saints wanted to trade back up to get the rights to Chris Olave, right? The Ohio State receiver, they made that swap. So they picked up the Saints' first-round pick, which I'm sure the Saints were hoping it would be a much lower pick than it is. Well, now it's number 10. So not only did you give up your pick to get A.J. Brown, you made a move to acquire a pick that gives you the 10th pick this year, which could allow you to take Bijan Robinson. Because you also have your own pick, which is pick 30. So, you have a top 30 player where you can fill a need, and you will make it easier to say, I don't want to take a running back that high. But we also have our own pick. And also at the 10th pick, you could trade back, Buck. You could dive back a little bit with someone who's coming up to take a quarterback or coming up to take something of value, and you can take Bijan Robinson in a middle of the first round.
16.
Yeah, somewhere in that range. And I agree with Daniel Jeremiah 100%. One of the worst things is a really good running back on a really bad team. It's just you're using carries that Christian McCaffrey was a good example when he was in Carolina. Saquon Barkley has been that in New York with the Giants up until this year. And some of the teams you've seen Bijan going to, like Tampa Bay, right? If he goes to Tampa Bay right now, Tampa Bay's in a rebuild with Tom Brady retiring. And
offensive line.
Offensive line's a mess. And Kyle Trask, who's their quarterback going to be?
Yeah.
I think if you're a Texas fan, that's what you don't want to see. It's like Barry Sanders when he went to Detroit, right? Barry Sanders had to play for the Lions all those years. Can you imagine if he got onto a good team?
Goodness.
Got onto a really good team? That'd been unbelievable. And that's who they compare Bijan to. He's Saquon Barkley, Christian McCaffrey, Adrian Peterson.
Yeah, you got to make hay while that time is available, especially for Philadelphia with their quarterback, because you don't know what Jalen Hurts is going to be like in 5 years.
And look, again, the philosophy of not draft, because people will say, well, you always say don't take a running back high, but I'm in line with
good
Jeremiah.
Team.
I'm already a good team. I got a quarterback on a rookie deal who I'm about to have to give a big contract to in the next 18 months. I can take this running back and just for the next 5 years,
that's right.
Just in the next 5 years, maybe win a couple Super Bowls, and then we'll see about a long-term deal, maybe not. But we're going to get the best years out of Bijan Robinson when we're at our best. Right now, we have the best offensive line in pro football. Right now, we have this young quarterback. Right now, we have the best pass rush in pro football. Why wouldn't we go for it? And this is a way to go for it, to acquire a player, because you made the trade last year and say, you know what, it's really outside of our philosophy as far as the draft, but we got to take the chance. He's just too good.
They're not going to not take a chance. What they did with A.J. Brown last year, the quarterback was great, but A.J. Brown helped get them to the
He just opened up their offense.
And so what a guy like this is going to get you back there again with the possibilities of actually winning the thing.
Well, and you also add to the fact for the circumstances of the Eagles is that Miles Sanders is a free agent. And, now you're at the position, he was a second-round draft pick, had a good year. Are you going to sign him to a long-term or just draft a rookie? And what if you're going to draft a rookie at the position? Why don't you just draft the best rookie?
Right.
Who can really – because think of what A.J. Brown did for their offense. They had Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert, and they were running the zone read or the RPO game, run-pass option. And teams, to stop that vaunted running game that they have, teams bring an extra defensive back down in the box to make it an 8-man box. Well, that leaves man coverage. A.J. Brown gave them the ability with a physical weapon like that to beat any man coverage. He's going to beat one-on-one coverage on the outside. Well, now what do you do as a defense? Well, now you can't roll down that 8th man in the box. If you do, A.J. Brown or Devontae Adams, one of those guys is getting man coverage. They're going to beat their guy. And so now you have a big play opportunity. If you lay back, well, then the run game's going to kill you. And, boy, you add Bijan to that and the upgrade from what it would be from Miles Sanders.
Yeah, as I said, that's not just within division. That's for football if that guy goes there.
Scary. And I agree with you.
That's scary for the 49ers. That's scary for everybody.
Well, that's what the 49ers were hoping would do when Christian McCaffrey came in for their offense.
Except for they just didn't have the quarterback.
They couldn't keep a quarterback healthy.
They couldn't keep the quarterback
healthy. If they
healthy.
keep a quarterback healthy, they might have beaten the Eagles and been in the Super Bowl themselves. And Christian McCaffrey was kind of seen as that missing piece to go with Deebo Samuel and George Kittle and just to make them unstoppable. But obviously they didn't have a quarterback when it mattered most. Let's hear one other. This is one of the guys on the NFL Network talking to Scott Pioli. Scott Pioli is the former general manager of the New England Patriots. He's also a former front office member with the Kansas City Chiefs back in the day. And I'm not sure who asked the question. It's one of the NFL Network guys, former player, asking Scott Pioli about Bijan Robinson and what his value would be.
And I agree. And I think one position that is value for quarterbacks is running back. Look at Saquon Barkley, how he helps Daniel Jones. And Bijan Robinson is a big name. And I know running backs, it's not popular like it once was, maybe 10 years ago. But if he goes out there and has an incredible combine, could he flip the script and be the running back that darts up the draft boards?
Devin, I think there's an absolute chance that happens because there are teams that are going to pay attention to the numbers, and they should. Because if you watch Bijan on tape, in terms of a running back, in terms of his hands, in terms of his blitz pickup ability, I watched a ton of tape on this guy. I actually spent time with him down at the University of Texas. This kid is the total package. You want him on your football team. He's a winner in every sense of the word. He's a leader in every sense of the word. So, again, typically, this position has unfortunately been devalued. But again, as we know in the draft and in anything in life, it only takes one person to fall in love with you. And if one team falls in love with him and has the need for a running back, and their situation is good enough where they've got other positions filled, some teams may lead to going to drafting based on need rather than best player available. But the reality is he is going to be one of the best players available, and getting a running back for his first 5 years, if you can get him later in the first round, it might be the right thing to do.
Cowboys, 26, later in the first round.
That's too late.
Some aren't sure. But there are some who, again, this is just the conventional folks who don't believe in taking a running back early. I think we explained why this one's a little bit different because he can help you in the receiving game. He never really has to leave the field. He's just a weapon. But something, maybe the Eagles would have a chance at him with their 30th pick. But that's just because, like, the number one running back last year didn't go until Breece Hall was picked in the second round. I mean, that's how running backs go, but Bijan's a cut above. And I think we know that Christian McCaffrey and Saquon Barkley both were top 7 picks when they came out, which is why 10, 15-ish, even 20 would be about as far as you could go back and still expect to have Bijan on the board. Because, again, Buck, people build their draft board. They spend hours, countless days and hours, and really for the college scouts that scout these players, it's a 4-year process of following and scouting these players. Then they all gather and they build a draft board. And as we know, the Cowboys and most teams will only have a first-round grade on about 20 players. I mean, because there are 32 first-round picks. Doesn't mean there's 32 first-round grades. Usually it's about 20 that grade out at the top. There's 4 or 5 that are just exceptional talents, right? They're at the top of everybody's board. They're the Jalen Carters. You know, they're the Bryce Youngs for a lot of people. They're the Will Andersons. And for a lot of people, Bijan Robinson is going to be in that elite tier, Buck.
Absolutely.
With his grade. He's going to be that high up on that board. And if you get down to 17, 18, 19, 20, and all of a sudden he's still sitting there, and you're trying to draft between, you're coming off of your first-round picks, and all the guys you have with first-round grades are gone, yet the guy that's got a high first-round grade is still there.
You almost see why he's doing these things. He and his group have got together that I'm running at the combine. I'm lifting, I'm jumping, I'm doing all the things naturally that I'm going to be very good at doing. And now I've really just prepared myself for doing this stuff.
Yeah,
I can move up to that spot where everybody says, "No, we don't do this with running backs." I can be that guy,
Agreed. All right, so there's some Bijan sound. That's not just us talking about it. That's the national folks and former league GMs that were highly successful. And this says anywhere but the Sheagles guys. Are we allowed to call them the Sheagles? Is that sensitivity training? The She-Gals, the Sheagles?
Sheagles is all right, I would think. Not the Shingles.
That's the pronoun problem.
Really?
Yeah. It's like Bijan it's like Tiger handing that deal there to that feminine product to.
Well, we really have
Justin.
not. We have not been in sensitivity training for a while now. We've been pretty good, even though it's National Women's Day. Is it? What is it today?
National Women's History Month.
Oh,
month.
A month? A month? National Women's History Month?
Yeah.
And it's like 3 days
I was
longer
like, is
than
Mary
Black
Tyler
History
Moore a
Month.
part of that?
Mary Tyler Moore?
She's a woman.
She's no longer with us, right? But that would be history.
That'd be history. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. She made me think of double beds, being married and having your own bed. Her and Dick Van Dyke, they had separate beds
That's
in
an
the same
article
room.
or a book I'd read. Bucky Godbolt's History of Women.
Hell yeah, you want that.
History of Women.
I'll
influential in his
autograph
life.
that sucker for you for sure.
From his mother, his great mother.
Oh, my great mother.
To his Carly Simon, Mary Tyler Moore,
My Pag Mule.
Cosmopolitan magazines.
Oh, my Pag Mule. Hey,
Well-
My Body, Myself. Don't forget. Hey, listen, never forget that great nursing book, My Body, Myself, which taught me an awful lot about the female anatomy and the Sears and Roebuck catalog in the bra department.
Hey, this says, Jesus, Aaron, you become so woke. You guys realize it's tongue-in-cheek and in jest when I say things. Can we say she-goals? I just said it 3 times. You guys need to stop being so sensitive. We're back.
really?
B&E and on the horn. B&E on this Friday. I want to thank our man Don Miller for
the TMZ moment.
Yeah, Don, that was good. We're going to get traffic, but let's first get the what's the crazy TV lady on the court TV?
Not Gloria Susskind or whatever her name. That's not her, right? She's a lawyer.
Nancy Grace.
Nancy Grace.
Yeah.
That's it. Way to go, Ty. Yeah.
Nancy Grace is like me. Guilty.
Our man Don Miller, who does the traffics, he had to go a little Nancy Grace. He had to give us the immediate. By the way, we want to play how this sounded when the judge sentenced Alex Murdaugh to life in prison, 2 counts, double life sentences for the murder of his son and his wife.
It's the double lifer. You only get to have the one life, right? I mean, is that if you come back as a
consecutive life terms? So there's a certain number you put on that life sentence on top of life sentence, and you'll spend the rest of his life in prison.
And then his other life, because he's got another life to go, so he got to spend another life. Two terms.
If there's a Netflix series about it really centers around the initial boat crash that his now late son was driving a boat that killed a young, hit a bridge pylon and drunk as heck, and a young lady was killed, and they attempted to cover that up but couldn't, and he was charged, and he was one of the people that he shot and killed, now convicted of. But it's only 3 episodes, and it's pretty quick. The first episode's like 40 minutes, and then it's 50. You can watch the whole thing in an afternoon or an evening, and you'll have a better picture of just who went to jail. It's pretty amazing when we talk about a century of that family, in control of that little county and that little city, Buford. Let's hear the judge this morning, after the jury took less than 3 hours to, they deliberated for less than 3 hours on a month-long case.
They didn't have breakfast.
No, they were like, we're done. We know this guy did it, or we believe this guy did it. But here is the judge this morning.
All right, Mr. Murdaugh, I sentence you to the State Department of Corrections on each of the murder indictments in the murder of your wife, Maggie Murdaugh. I sentence you for a term of the rest of your natural life for the murder of Paul Murdaugh, whom you probably love so much. I sentence you to prison for murdering him for the rest of your natural life. Those sentences will run consecutive. Under the statute involving possession of a weapon during a violent crime, there is no sentence where a life sentence is imposed on other indictments. That is the sentence of the court, and you are remanded to the State Department of Corrections.
Right there it was this morning in South Carolina. By the way, our man Lamar, Golf Lingo, says, actual traffic report live. Lights are out all over Bee Cave Lakeway. Traffic is
the
terrible.
Actual real traffic that we needed?
Yeah, the actual traffic. Thank you, Lamar. That's nice of you. But be careful out there. We got Combine. So far, it's pretty amazing. The fastest 40 time so far at the Combine, because that's always the lead attraction, is Nolan Smith, defensive end, Georgia. Ran faster than Saquon Barkley, who was a running back in the day. 4.39. Assuming that gets beat a few times today, Buck, when the DBs run. It's DBs and specialists today, so kickers, punters.
Somebody's hitting 4.2 something and change.
You think there's a 4.2 on the board?
Yes.
All right.
Do they still do the thing where if you're wearing like Adidas shoes, you get like $1 million if you break the? Or I think it's more money.
Somebody normally gives that. I mean, this is. I hear Rod Babers talk about it a lot in the afternoon. He's dead on. This is all made for TV. There's a lot of coaching staffs that don't even come to this anymore because it's all on tape. It's all televised. They send their scouts, and the general manager goes. But it's all made for TV, but it's fun TV. I will say that. The players are the ones that have to go through the Combine. I understand the process of the medicals and getting to talk to these kids face to face and then get to know them before you invest a draft pick, which means a lot of money into these players. Same time, it's all for TV, and the NFL is all about a TV show.
Right.
And the confluence of college football and pro football is, told that story. It's reality TV. I mean, we all watched these guys play 3-4 years in college, and now we're going to get to watch them at the Combine, and then the process of what team ends up drafting them. Obviously, Bijan has been the focal point here. And so corners and specialists today. Tomorrow is the big day. If you're going to the Texas basketball game tomorrow at 3, you have plans, the barbecue cook-off, whatever you're doing tomorrow, record it because tomorrow's quarterbacks, receivers, and tight ends. And obviously, it's just throwing in your underwear, but you still get to see you still get to see Will Levis and his arm talent, C.J. Stroud, probably the best natural passer in this draft. And a guy that can really help himself is the kid Anthony Richardson from Florida. If he shows accuracy in this game, in this workout, he'll help himself a little bit. Now he's got to be able to do that with pressure and with people around him. But and then the receiving core and the tight ends, they get to be this is a high-end tight end class. And then of course Sunday it's running backs and what's the last one? Running backs and linebackers, DBs today.
And wide receivers?
Running backs O-line.
No, tight ends are with the wide.
Running backs O-line on Saturday.
Okay.
On Sunday. Running backs O-line on Saturday. Or Sunday, I should say. Tomorrow, quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers. Today, DBs, specialists will be your order of operations. And a couple of notes have come down. We still haven't heard anything from Aaron Rodgers. He's going to make his decision coming up. But in Indianapolis this week, apparently Lamar Jackson has reiterated his desire for a fully guaranteed contract. And he's not coming off of it.
That he's not playing this year.
Yeah. I mean, and you keep saying this, and I think you're right on. I think he needs to have an agent. I mean, he's his own agent, and I think this has led him not having an agent has led to some of the acrimony between he and the front office and he and the team, because there's not that buffer that if you ask for a guaranteed contract like Deshaun Watson got, then they have to tell you why they're not doing it. And so what are they doing? They're pointing off now negatives to you, right? Well, you're hurt a lot.
Oh, now my feelings are hurt.
Then
your agent, by the way, your agent's feelings wouldn't be hurt.
But that's why you have an agent where you don't have to be in those meetings, and he negotiates on your behalf, and he's going to take his cut. But at the same time, I just don't think the rate. Here's what I don't know.
It's almost like building a home. You always think there should be a go between you and the builder.
I can't get in between Lamar Jackson's ears, but if maybe he wants to be out of Baltimore. And this is his way of doing it because Baltimore has made it clear they want to keep Lamar Jackson.
Yes.
And I believe them. I don't think they want to be in a position where they don't have a franchise quarterback and who that's going to be. I think they'll go there if they have to. But this would mean potentially this is Lamar Jackson trying to force his way because he realizes he wants a new start. He doesn't feel like the Ravens have put the right amount of good players around him. And it is a fair track record to say that the Ravens over the last 5 years have gotten at odds with a lot of their top picks, right? I mean, they traded Marcus Peters, they've had Rashad Bateman, the wide receiver, has come out talking about how there's a problem between the front office and the general manager's office and some of these top players on this team. And because when top receivers who are free agents don't go to Baltimore, a lot of us will say, well, maybe they don't want to play with Lamar Jackson.
Right.
They're saying, no, this is about the GM. This is about what the front office is doing to acquire these players, and they've gotten at odds with some of their top picks of late. And now Lamar. That's why I wonder if Lamar Jackson's playing the hardball guaranteed contract or bust, to force the Ravens' hand to trade him. But at the same time, Buck,
you think he'll take less of deal somewhere else?
Well, that's going to be the question. Because if he's playing hardball and he's trying to play chicken with the Ravens, the team that's going to trade for Lamar Jackson would want to trade for him, but they're also not going to want to give him a guaranteed contract.
Right.
I mean, or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there is a team out there like the Cleveland Browns when the Deshaun Watson thing, when push came to shove.
Or the Colts.
There will be a team that will say, oh, we'll do that. We'll guarantee the contract. But now we know in real black and white terms that the Cleveland Browns are dealing with a contract with Deshaun Watson that makes him over a $50 million cap hit this year, next year, and the following. Over $50 million. That's what those guaranteed deals do. When you guarantee the whole thing, it becomes so onerous on your salary cap. And by the way,
Lamar, you'd have to guarantee me you'll be there for the playoffs. You're not going to be hurt because of the way you play the game. Can you guarantee me that?
It's got
I'll give you a guaranteed contract. If you can guarantee me you're not going to be hurt.
Those reports have gone back and forth enough to make me feel like Lamar Jackson knows they're not giving that to him, yet he keeps asking for it. And this is negotiation, but at the same time, is that his way of forcing their hand to say, okay, Lamar, if that's going to be the case.
Well, then you have to have the balls to understand that the next team you got to talk to them the same exact way.
Well, because look, the Ravens can look at the cap issues the Cleveland Browns have and say, we don't want those. We want the player, but we don't need a $50 million cap hit with our quarterback as much as we like our quarterback. that's for them to deal with.
Would you say it'd be a different world if he'd have taken him to a Super Bowl? If he would have been in a Super Bowl?
I still don't think. Look, I mean, Patrick Mahomes, the best player on the planet. He's a generational talent. He's not getting guaranteed money fully. I mean, he's getting a lot of it guaranteed, but the whole thing's not guaranteed. And, you know, the one thing that I'll say for Lee Steinberg and Patrick Mahomes, his contract is team-friendly. His contract does leave concessions to be able to build the full roster while Patrick still makes his big money. That's
how you win Super Bowls.
Right, and that's part of the problem in Cleveland, and it would be in Baltimore. A fully guaranteed quarterback contract of that magnitude is not team-friendly. It's not salary cap-friendly. It's going to be a problem, which, you know, good organizations don't want to put themselves in that position, even though they know they have to have the quarterback. Patrick Mahomes is a good example of a guy who worked a deal that can be team-friendly but also make him
That's why the Philadelphia Eagles are going to take this chance with Bijan Robinson, because they know exactly what they need to get them over the hump. And they need a great running back to go along with a fantastic young quarterback that could be great.
Cowboy fans just don't want to hear that.
I know. They can do it too.
Well, they can't pick ahead of the Cowboys.
No, I mean, they can't pick ahead of the Eagles, but
16, and they have to trade up ahead of 10. I don't know. We'll get to it. Cowboys.
Does Dak need them?
Well, that's the other problem. The Cowboys have other holes to fill. The Eagles don't have a lot of holes to fill.
No.
That's the other thing that's kind of scary
that's
about
why you
that
go
team.
for broke.
Yeah, that's why you go all in and go after, because they don't have a lot of them. And they could use a corner, and they could use some depth guys, but they don't need a lot in Philadelphia right now. Whereas the Cowboys, they could use Bijan, but if they franchise tag Tony Pollard, they need other things a lot more. They need another receiver. They need a tight end. If Dalton Schultz leaves, they need a linebacker. If Leighton Vander Esch leaves, they need corners. They need some stuff. And
they do need some stuff.
Bijan might be too big of a luxury for
Plus,
them.
I got that guy calling plays this year.
This says, when do the kickers go? Because kickers go today. Specialists and corners today. It's Combine Day 2. We'll be back. B&E on the Horn. Dun, dun. Hey, I have to apologize.
Thank you there, Steve Harvey.
By the way, I'm pretty sure Steve Harvey was the last voice I heard last night before I fell asleep because it was on the Family Feud on the Game Show Network.
Sweet.
And I went out. See ya.
Does the TV then go off then? Or does it stay on for a while?
No, I went off.
Oh, you went off. You don't know. Well, your wife cut the TV off then.
No, I think I would then woke later on. I'll wake up and turn it off.
Oh, really? It still can go on? I can never sleep that way. With the
I
TV
rarely
on.
can. Last night I was tired.
I used to have to sleep like that with the
TV on. Really?
She does. Yeah, she's got to have it on to fall asleep. It's weird. I'm the opposite. I can't fall asleep with it on. Typically, she needs it to put her to sleep. So yeah,
back in the day, it used to
deal
be
with
Johnny Carson for me when I stayed up late.
That was later.
The Johnny Carson Show.
But I have to apologize because I teased this story and then my ADD kicked in here this morning on a Friday that Nick Saban is with Nick Saban whining, and somebody called and said, "Hey, is he going to get to that Nick Saban story?" So let me get to it before we get out of here. But Nick Saban, the SEC is adding 2 new teams. I don't know if you've heard about this, Texas and Oklahoma.
Yeah, I heard they're going.
Mm-hmm. And Nick Saban has been an advocate for a long time, apparently, of the SEC adding a 9th conference game, right? They've only played 8 while everybody else is playing 9. But he says, I've always been an advocate for playing more conference games, but if you play more games, I think you have to get the 3 fixed opponents right. They're giving us Tennessee, Auburn, and LSU. I don't know how they come to that decision. So he's not happy of the 3 teams that it looks like they're going to get. And this website would not have so many pop-up ads and would go faster. I could get to the other part. He said, they said they did a 10-year whatever. Well, some of those years, Tennessee wasn't as good as they've been in previous 10 years, but now they are. They were real good for the 10 years previous. We got 3 teams. Look at them. 2 of them in the top 10.
Yeah,
other 10 is in the top 10 a lot.
He wants Vandy.
So what does he want?
Vandy,
Come
South
on,
Carolina,
Nick.
and Mississippi State.
Well, Texas is getting Arkansas, Oklahoma, and A&M. Now, I think if Nick Saban could choose, I'll take Okay, give me Arkansas, OU, and A&M.
Yes.
Texas, you can have Auburn, Tennessee, and LSU. Look, the consistent power has been LSU. Auburn's up and down. Tennessee's up and down. But, I mean, look, and this is going to be the challenge for the SEC. And Nick Saban whining about it. I get his point. But, there were many years where everyone wanted to line up to play Tennessee. Auburn, they stunk out loud this year.
Yes, they did.
And you can't break up the Iron Bowl rivalry. You have to have that. The SEC and ESPN wouldn't let Texas break up or let Alabama break up the LSU game matchup every year. That's one of their highest rated games every year.
And like you said, or the Auburn game, that's not going to happen in the state.
Well, and it's one of those. And then Tennessee's a border school, and it's a longtime rival.
Or except for now they're good.
Well, that's what he's really complaining about.
Yes.
All of a sudden, Josh Heupel's got him winning football games.
We can't have that.
When they were hiring my misfits like Jeremy Pruitt, they weren't any good.
That's true.
Now they're good. But, yeah, that's really difficult for the SEC to make that even because the teams do rise and fall. But again, ESPN is driving all of this, and there's no way. You can't lose the Iron Bowl on an annual basis. And there's no way they're letting the LSU game go away. So what do you want? Like Vanderbilt instead of Tennessee?
They want Vandy. Give us Vandy.
Well, guess who doesn't want that? ESPN does not want that.
No, they don't want it. The ones who are paying the bills.
We'll take Tennessee. So there you go, Nick. Nick Saban doing a little bit of whining about the 3 teams that looks like they're going to draw. Texas, of course, will get Arkansas.
It's almost time for Nick to get to the grandkids. Oh, he's got spring ball yet. Sorry. Got work to do.
He won't retire until he dethrones Kirby Smart from the top.
He'll be hanging around for 5 years.
When they were doing that national championship game and David Pollock turned to him and said, Georgia's the dominant program now. Oh, you don't think Nick Saban thinks about that every day. Hey, y'all have a great weekend. A lot to recover and talk about, and we'll be doing it on Monday morning at 6 a.m. If you miss any part of this Friday edition, go listen to it on the podcast at hornfm.com.